I pay homage to the perfection of wisdom, the mother of all the Buddhas of the three times, which is inexpressible, inconceivable, and beyond words, which is the object of perception of self-awareness wisdom. Samgate Bodhi Swaha, Tha Gate Para, Samgate Bodhi Swaha, Tha Gate. Narangate Magate Bodhi Swaha. Verse of homage from Abhisamaya Lamkara. Yunayum de la Chat. But from verses of homage from Master Nagarjuna's Fundamental Treatise of the Middle Way. So take your tea first. So this is talking to the chant masters. Otherwise, you'll have upset stomach if you drink cold tea. The Lanish Lama prayer of Lamrim. To the magnificent, precious root Guru, please do the visualization as usual, with the Buddha, beginning with the Shakyamuni down to your own root Guru. Imagining them dissolving from top down, one by one into the next. Magnificent, precious root Lama, please rest above on the lotus and moon on my crown, and take care of me with your great kindness. Please bestow me the attainments of your holy body, speech, and mind. Request of method lineage, the teacher, the conqueror, Tathagata, the incomparable guide, the venerable, invincible protector Maitreya, the Buddha's regent, exalted Asanga, who was prophesied by the victorious ones. To you three Buddhas and Bodhisattvas I make request. Vasubandhu, crown ornament of this world's learned ones. Arya Vimuktisena, who found the middle path. Vimuktisena Gomin, with the high rank on faith. To you three, who opened the eyes of the world, I make request. Paramasena, who has exalted and marvelous accomplishment. Vinitasena, who purified his mind with the profound path. Verochana, a treasury of great waves of conduct. To you three, friends of migratory beings, I make a request. Haribhadra, who composed vast treatises on the supreme path of the perfection of wisdom. Kusali, holder of all the victorious ones' instructions. Ratnasena, who lovingly cared for all beings. To you three, helmsmen of sentient beings, I make a request. Suvranadvipa Lamaselingpa, who mastered the Bodhicitta. Atisha, holder of the tradition of great vehicle. Precious Domtempa, who clarified the noble path. To you three, pillars of the teachings, I make request. Request to the wisdom lineage, again beginning with Buddha Shakyamuni, the pinnacle of the Shakyas, supreme guide of peerless speech. Manjushri, total encompassment of the victorious one's infinite knowledge. The supreme exalted Nagarjuna, who perceived the meaning of the profound. To you three, crown ornaments of speech, I make request. Chandrakirti, who clarified the exalted one's thought. Vidya Kokila the elder, his elder son. Vidya Kokila the later, son of the victorious ones. To you three, powerful ones of the lineage, I make request. Atisha, holder of the tradition of the great vehicle, who saw profound dependence rising just as it is. Precious Domtempa, who clarified the noble path. To you too, ornaments of this world, I make request. Request to the Kadam Lamrim lineage, magnificent Gompawa, the powerful yogi, Nisurba, who had stable concentration on the profound. Thakmapa, who upheld the whole collection of Vinaya, to you three lamps of the border regions I make request. Namka Senke, who practiced with earnest effort. Namka Gyalpo, who was blessed by the holy ones. Senke Sangpo, who abandoned the 8 worldly concerns. To Gyalse Sangpo, I make request. With Bodhicitta, seeing all beings as his child, blessed and cared for by the sublime deities, supreme spiritual friend, guiding migrators in degenerate times. At the feet of Namka Gyaltsen, master of Lama Tsongkhapa, I make request. Request to the Kadam Shungpa lineage, the spiritual friend Botowa, representing the lineage of the victorious one, Sharawa, unequaled in critical analysis. Chekawa, who fulfilled the bodhicitta. To you three who fulfill the hopes of beings, I make request. Bodhisattva Chilpupa, possessor of all transmissions and insights. Lungke Wangchuk, supremely learned one. Gompo Rinpoche, protector of migrators in the 3 realms. To you three great elders, I make request. Sangchenpa, who had the sweet scent of pure morality. Sonawa, master of 100,000 sections of Vinaya. Muntaba, who reached the limits of the Abhidhamma ocean. To you three guides of migrators, I make request. Having found the profound, vast Dharma, Che became a protector, of all fortunate migrators. With good Sangpo be deed, developed the doctrine. At the feet of glorious Guru Church of Sangpo, I make request. Request of the Kadam instruction lineage, Surtimbar, great, powerful, accomplished one, Shunu, who correctly relied on spiritual friends. Gergompa, who trained his mind in the supreme vehicle's path. To you three sons of the victorious ones, I make request. Sangyevan, holder of a treasure of marvelous qualities. Namka Gyalpo, blessed by the holy ones. Sengye Sangpo, who abandoned the 8 worldly dharmas. To Gyalse Sangpo, I make request. With Bodhicitta, seeing all beings as his child, blessed and cared for by the exalted deities, supreme spiritual friend guiding migratory beings in degenerate times. To Namka Gyaltsen, I make request. Request to the Gyaluk lineage. You, Avalokiteshvara, great treasury of non-objectifying compassion. Manjushri, powerful and stainless wisdom. Tsongkhapa, crown ornament of the learned ones of snowlands. To the feet of Lobsang Trакpa, I make request. Great scholar adept, Sherab Sengye, omniscient Gedun Drup, the first Dalai Lama, Norbu Zangbo, who attained the 3 Buddha bodies. To the 3 glorious masters, I make request. Gedun Gyatso, the second Dalai Lama, Kirtup Gelek Pelsang, scholar adept Lautun Sonam Pelsang. To the 3 holy masters, I make request. The lotus holder Sonam Gyatso, the 3rd Dalai Lama, the upholder of the profound instructions, Chö Pelsang, sovereign Lord Kundun Belger Hundup. To you 3 scholar adepts, I make request. Ngawang Lobsang Gyatso, the 5th Dalai Lama, Lobsang Chödak, the kind master, Lobsang Gyaltsen, the omniscient Jamyang Shebe Dorje. To you I make request. Spiritual master Jamyang Deve Dorje, incomparable, Ngawang Chokden, the incomparable great Gaden throne holder. Supreme leader Gyawang Kyesang Gyatso, the 7th Dalai Lama. To you 3 I make request. To you 3 incomparable ones I make request. Longdul Ngawang Lobsang, the great throne holder. Ngawang Nyantak, Panglung Tulku by the name of Ngawang Chunzin, Lungrik Wangchuk, and Yeshi Gyatso. To you I make request. Dharma Rinchen, the regent of Master Tsongkhapa. Shakyash Gyaltsen, the lamp for sentient beings. The glorious Stönyer Ketup, the three illuminators of the doctrine, to you I make request. Chogi Gyaltsen, the leader amongst teachers. Namga Gyaltsen, the great being. And the Venerable Lobsang Chogi Gyaltsen, to the three peerless masters I make request. Jundri Gyaltsen, the Lord of the realized masters. Damjo Gyaltsen, the guide of sentient beings. Gelek Gyatso, the treasury of ear-whispered lineage. To the three kind gurus I make request. Ngawang Champa, the illuminator of excellent path. Benchen Pelden Yishi, the emanation of Amitabha, the great tutor of the 8th Dalai Lama, Yishi Gyaltsen. To the three illuminators of the path to liberation I make request. Bearing the name of Tugje, the treasury of Tsongkhapa's tradition, his spiritual son Ngawang Chunzin, crowning jewel of scholars, Yeshi Gyatso, to you three, the leaders of sentient beings, I make request. I respectfully pray to the consummate principal tutor of the 13th Dalai Lama, Lobsang Tsutim Jampa Gyatso, who upheld the treasury of Tsongkhapa's excellent tradition without a match, and the 13th Dalai Lama, Ngawang Lobsang Gyatso, I make request to you. Like the second Lord of the sages in the teaching of the Buddha, matchless in preserving the scriptural realization teachings, and whose triumphant enlightened activities reign over the three worlds, I make request to you, the Venerable Master, Ling Rinpoche. Next is for the prayer to the 14th Dalai Lama, having mastery over speech, gentle, splendid, and adamant, the good vows of intelligence filled with the wisdom nectar, holder of the doctrine, ornament of vast, playful ocean, to the exalted, supreme holder of lotus, I make request. Guru Vajradhara, unity of the three refuges, for those to be subdued, assumes the manner of spiritual friend. To all the kind gurus who grant the supreme and common attainments, I make request. Eyes that view all the infinite holy scriptures, for the fortunate one's supreme gateway to liberation, using skillful means which are moved by love. To the clarifying spiritual friends, I make request. In all my life, may I never be separated from perfectly gurus, pure gurus, enjoy the glory of Dharma, and completing qualities of levels and paths, may I quickly achieve the state of Vajradhara. The foundation of all good qualities, the kind and venerable spiritual masters are the foundation of all good qualities. Seeing that dependence on them is the root of the path, may I rely on them with great respect and continuous effort to inspire me thus. A human life with leisure is obtained this once, understanding that it has great value and is hard to find, may I produce unceasingly the mind that takes hold of its essence day and night. Inspire me thus. The fluctuation of our body and life is like bubble of water. Remember death, for we perish so quickly. After death, the effect of black and white karma pursues us as shadow follows a body. Finding certainty in this, may I always be careful to abandon even the slightest negative actions and to complete the accumulation of virtue. Inspire me thus. There is no satisfaction in enjoying worldly pleasures. They are the door to all misery, having realized that the fault of samsaric perfection is that they cannot be trusted. May I strongly be intent on the bliss of liberation. The pure thought to attain liberation produces great conscientiousness, mindfulness, and awareness. May I take the essential practice, escaping the vows of individual liberation, the root of doctrine, inspire me thus, having seen that all beings, my kind mothers, have fallen like ocean of cycling existence. May I train in the supreme bodhicitta, assuming the obligation to The responsibility to free all migrating beings to inspire me thus, generating the dedicated heart alone without cultivation of the three moral practices, ethics, does not lead to enlightenment. Having realized this, may I practice with intensity for the vows of the conquerors and their spiritual children. Inspire me thus by correcting distraction to false objects and analyzing the meaning of reality. May I quickly generate within my mind that path uniting calm, writing, and insight. Inspire me thus when trained. Having trained in the common path, when I am suitable vessel, may let me enter with ease the great gateway of fortune with the Vajrayana, the highest of all vehicles. Inspire me thus the basis of achieving true powerful attainments is the pure vows and commitments that I pledged. Having found the true understanding of this, may I keep them even at the cost of my life. Inspire me thus. Having realized the significance of two stages, which are the essence of tantric path, may I steadfastly practice without laziness the 4 sessions of yoga and realize what the holy beings have taught. Inspire me thus, made spiritual teachers who lead me on the sacred path, and all spiritual friends who practice it have long life. May I quickly and completely pacify all outer and inner hindrances. Grant such inspiration, I pray. In all my rebirths, may I never be separated from perfect spiritual masters and enjoy the magnificent Dharma, completing all qualities of stages and paths. May I quickly achieve the state of Vajradhara. This ground, mandala offering. This ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, 4 continents and sun and the moon. I imagine as a Buddha land and offer it to you. May all beings enjoy in this pure land. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly by the virtuous merit created by listening to the Dharma. May I attain Buddhahood to benefit all migratory beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha by the virtuous merits created by listening to the Dharma. May I become a Buddha to benefit all migratory beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha by the virtuous merit created by listening to the Dharma. May I attain Buddhahood to benefit all migratory beings. I prostrate to the Gautama who out of his compassion taught the holy Dharma to rid us of all wrong views. Master Tsongkhapa has said this verse. So the lamp of the three planes of existence, lamps which are the great treatise on stages of the path and the middle length stages of the path by Master Tsongkhapa, which we are now going to finish today. I feel very fortunate to have been able to give teaching on these two texts. I've taught both these texts several times in the past, and especially the Lamrim Chemo. So in other places I have taught Lamrim Chemo and the middle length. So it may be only this one time that I've been able to teach these two texts together in this place. And so having engaged in this discourse, all of us didn't have any major obstacles. Everything went very well, except for Ling Rinpoche, who had a bad accident. By listening to the teaching of Lamrim, the stages of path of enlightenment, should not be like listening to some story, but to actually transform this mind, this unruly mind, which is full of three poisons, and to transform it so that we can actually become omniscient. This mind which we have turns into omniscient mind. So it would be best to apply the teaching within ourselves so that we at least reach a certain degree of paths or grounds. But at least we should actually make some transformation within. It is possible unless you lack in your effort. So from now on, having listened to the Lamrim teachings, we should think, or we should consider ourselves and think of not being slave of the three poisons. It should not, receiving the Lamrim teaching should not be like counting how many times you have received the teaching without making any effort in transforming ourselves within. Otherwise, all our efforts would be in waste, and the money that the sponsors have spent would also be a waste. And so we have to put effort and make it worth ourselves worth to practice the Dharma. So to attain the two bodies of the Buddha, form body and the Dharmakaya, we have to practice the practice bodhicitta and the correct view of emptiness. So if we can practice these two, then the rest of the fruits, such as having a good life and success in one's life, would come as a byproduct. So if you have a slight experience of bodhicitta, then lasting happiness is, in fact, you are going to begin with that. So if you can think about the bodhicitta and the correct view, it would be good to think about it. So the past Buddhas and Bodhisattvas like Nagarjuna and so forth, we should pay homage to the Buddha, and how Nagarjuna actually pays homage to the Buddha. We can see from his writings, and then how they, what kind of masters they were, whether they're authentic, authoritative masters or not, we can actually judge them from their own texts. In the Sakya tradition, there is mention of the four valid things or authoritative things. The first is the scripture, then the exegetical treatises, and then the masters, and then experience, valid experience. And so, in chronological order, first the Buddha's words came, and then the exegetical treatises written by the Indian masters, and then we have the masters who have who have studied these texts and gained experience themselves, and they in turn showing us the path, have made us have the experience. The disciples have the experience themselves. And on the other hand, and we can talk about the experience of the teachings within oneself. So, if you have, of course, we do not have the high experiences of the paths and the grounds, but if we actually reflect on how we were before hearing the teaching on bodhicitta, whether we were happier or not, and then compare that after having listened to the teachings, and if you have become happier or not. And so, with regard to the profound emptiness, when you directly perceive it, you reach the sixth. When you reach the path of seeing, although we are not there yet, but because of our understanding of the emptiness, understanding of the profound emptiness, we can have some certainty about those high paths and grounds are, and your faith in the Buddha and so forth also increase, and then because of that, you are not swayed by negative emotions. When you have problems, you don't become helpless at all. So usually when you do practice based on Manjushri, you can see how your wisdom also increases. And so from these kind of small ordinary experiences that we develop, we can kind of infer that the higher experiences which are at this time beyond our conception are possible. And for that, those experiences to happen to us, we need to rely on experienced masters. And therefore, we can find the lamas to be authoritative or authentic. And because the lamas have relied on the treatises, we can also infer or find those treatises to be authoritative, and consequently the Buddha's words to be authoritative as well. And in this way, we can find a very unshakable faith in the teaching of the Buddha through reason. And this is how you actually promote the Dharma. So the flourishing of the Dharma and has to happen and start within an individuals who gains the experience of the Dharma. So when this happens, we can talk about the Dharma flourishing. And so after 1 year, when you think back in retrospect, when you find that some change has happened within yourself, you should be able to make this change within yourself. Do you get me? So next year we'll gather for the rest of the 18 texts. So if you have made some transformation within yourself, that is an indication that the teaching has worked within you, having engaged in the discourse. So first we'll... The second refutation on page 337. Opponent's position, we agree that it is not correct for meditation on emptiness to be the mere setting of the mind in a state that lacks any thought, without finding the view of emptiness, which is selflessness. Therefore, the position given above is not correct. However, once someone finds a view, which is the definitive meaning of selflessness, all cases of that person placing his mind in a non-conceptual state are meditations on emptiness. Reply, this is not correct. Your claim implies that because a person has found the view of definitive meaning, all of his or her non-conceptual meditations are meditations on the meaning determined by the definitive view. If that is the case, then please tell us why that person's meditation on the spirit of enlightenment would not be a meditation of view of definitive meaning. Opponent, the meditation on spirit of enlightenment is the meditation of a person who has found the view of the definitive meaning. Yet it is not a meditation during which one is mindful of the view and stabilizes the mind upon it. Reply, indeed, I agree that when a person who has found the definitive view meditates, it may be considered a meditation on emptiness if it is a meditation in which he or she is mindful of the view and then stabilizes the mind on the view. But how could this entail that all instances of that person placing the mind in a non-conceptual state are meditations sustaining the view? Therefore, although you have found the view, when sustaining the view, you must meditate on emptiness by remembering the meaning which the view previously determined. Simply placing your mind in a state of non-conceptual suspension does not constitute meditation on emptiness. Our own system's understanding of the meaning of the phrase without any discursive thought has already come up several times in the sections of serenity and insight. It means to keep holding the mind on the object of meditation without engaging in a great deal of analysis, which thinks this is that and this is not that. We do not accept the claim that it means being free from conceptual thought. The third refutation, opponent's position. We also do not agree with the first position, which says that meditation on emptiness means setting the mind in a non-conceptual state without finding the view. Nor do we agree with the second position, which says that after one has found a view, any placement of the mind in a non-conceptual state is not meditation on emptiness. However, one should meditate without any discursive thought in alternating periods, beginning with a period devoted to analysis to using discriminative wisdom. Following that, any placement on the mind of the mind in a non-conceptual state is a meditation on the meaning of emptiness. Reply: this is also not correct, because if this were the case, it would most absurdly follow that when someone analyzes the view while falling asleep, that person's subsequent non-conceptual condition during sleep would be a meditation on emptiness. This is because the two situations are alike in that they are preceded by analysis of the view, and because apparently your position is that meditation on emptiness does not require placement of your mind on the view at that same time. Therefore, after you have analyzed the view, you stabilize your mind on the conclusion that phenomena do not intrinsically exist. If it then moves slightly, its placement on the view is lost. At that point, keeping your mind in a generalized condition of thoughtlessness does not constitute meditation on emptiness. Therefore, you must train in conceptual analysis. You must You have to monitor whether your attention is remaining on the view and then sustain the view of meditation. The fourth refutation, the opponent's position. We do not agree with the previous three. When one meditates on emptiness, one brings about certain knowledge of the view. Then, holding the mind on that point, one stabilizes the mind without analyzing anything else. This is genuine meditation on emptiness, because like the first system, it is not the case that the mind is not even turned toward emptiness. Unlike the second system, it is not the case that one is not mindful of the view of emptiness while sustaining a non-conceptual state. Unlike the third system, it is not the case that one first analyzes the view and then stabilizes the mind in a non-conceptual condition in which the mind does not remain on the view. Reply: what you call analysis of the view is simply remembering the view and then performing only stabilizing meditation on the view. To claim that this is meditation on emptiness is not correct, because if it were, there would only be serenity, which performs stabilizing meditation on emptiness. There would be no analytical meditation, which is the method for sustaining insight. Therefore, this is a one-sided practice that cannot sustain the union of serenity and insight. The presentation of our own view. If you do not find the definitive view of selflessness, your mind will not be directed towards selflessness in any of your meditations. Therefore, you must find the view of selflessness. Furthermore, mere understanding is not enough. When sustaining the view, you must remember it and analyze it, and you must meditate on what you have analyzed. In order to do that, you must have both forms of meditation: non-analytical stabilization on meaning and analysis with discriminating wisdom. Each one by itself is insufficient. This section has three parts: why both stabilizing meditation and analytic meditation are necessary, overcoming objections to that, and a summary of the key points for sustaining insight and serenity. Regarding the first, if you are not certain about the view, that is, you have not reached firm conclusions about the meaning of selflessness, then the knowledge which is insight will not develop. This is because the Buddha said that certainty about a view is the cause of insight, and that failing to study instructions that explain the view is hindrance to insight. The Sutra Unraveling the Intention says, Bhagavan, from what causes do serenity and insight arise? Maitreya, they arise from the cause of pure ethics and from the cause of an authentic view based on study and reflection. And failure to willingly study the instructions of noble beings is a hindrance to insight. Also, the question of Narayana says, study gives rise to wisdom, and it is wisdom that eliminates afflictions. I cited many such statements earlier. How does the view create insight? When you set out to determine the view, you determine it through analysis using many lines of reasoning and scriptural citations. When you have determined it, you repeatedly analyze it using discriminating wisdom. Stabilizing meditation alone without sustaining the view will not create insight. Therefore, when you meditate after having attained serenity, you must sustain the view through continued analysis. Opponent: we do not claim that there is no analysis at the beginning. However, once study and reflection have determined the view, if you then practice analytical meditation during a session of meditation, these thoughts are conceptions of science. Reply: it is not tenable to fail to sustain the view in this way, for we have given abundant refutation of the claim that any conceptual thoughts are conceptions and of science, and of the claim that ordinary beings meditate on selflessness with a wisdom that is free from conceptual thought. Furthermore, because you claim that all of those conceptual thoughts are conceptions of true existence, if they had to be stopped during meditation on the view, then they would also have to be stopped. When determining the view in such as much as conceptual thought is needed to make those determinations. And since you must use conceptual thought for everything, such as teaching students, debating, composing, and thinking about the view, you would also have to stop it at those times, because you cannot make even the slightest distinction which allows for a conception of true existence that must be stopped during meditation, but which does not need to be stopped at other times. Opponent: we do not agree with that. One conducts one conducts analysis using many lines of reasoning and scripture citations in order to know something that one does not yet know, the meaning of selflessness. During meditation, such analysis is unnecessary because the view has already been found. Reply: if this were so, then since noble beings have perceptual knowledge of selflessness on the path of seeing, it would be pointless for them to meditate on selflessness that they have already seen. Opponent: they must meditate on emptiness already perceived on the path of seeing, and by by becoming accustomed to it, they eliminate the afflictions to be eliminated on the path of meditation. The path of seeing alone cannot eliminate those afflictions. Reply: yes, and this case is similar because here, even though previous study and reflection have already determined a view with certainty, you must become accustomed to that, to what you have determined. This is because ascertainment of the view becomes strong, long-lasting, clear, and steady to the extent that one becomes accustomed to what one has determined. Therefore, as Dharmakirti's commentary on the comparative valid cognition says, ascertainment and reifying mind are the nature of the cancelled, and that which cancels. Because those two are the cancelled and that which cancels, reification is cancelled as your ascertainment takes on qualities such as steadiness and strength. Therefore, here again, you must maximize your ascertainment of the absence of intrinsic existence. You must reflect on many lines of refutation and proof. Suppose that this were not the case. Someone could arrive at an understanding of something such as impermanence, karma, and its effects, the faults of second existence, spiritual enlightenment, love, and compassion. Then, without analyzing them further, that person would need simply to hold a single thought: I am going to die, and then sustain it in order to have full knowledge of impermanence. The reasons why you must continue analysis of the view are entirely similar. In order to bring about genuine ascertainment, it is not enough to have just a pronouncement such as I am going to die, or I will attain Buddhahood for the sake of living beings, or I feel compassion for living beings. You must reflect on those things using many lines of reasoning. Likewise, for steady and strong ascertainment of the absence of intrinsic existence, it is not enough to hold on to some pronouncement. You have to reflect on it using many lines of refutation and proof. I've already explained this at length in the section on the person of small capacity. Accordingly, all three Kamalashila stages of meditation say that when you meditate after you have achieved serenity, you must do much analysis in meditation. And Chandrakirti's commentary on the middle way says things like yogis refute the self, meaning that when they meditate, they carry out those analyses. This is because yogis do this analysis in order to find either serenity or insight, and because it is not the case that there is no search for understanding of the view prior to achieving serenity. Also, analysis of the view are set forth in the context of the perfection of wisdom after the perfection of meditative stabilization. The critical point implied by this order is that you still analyze the two selflessnesses after achieving meditative stabilization. Bhavivika's Heart of the Middle Way says, after your mind is set in equipoise, this is how wisdom investigates these things, these phenomena, which are conceived of in conventional terms. Viveka's own commentary on this says that the analysis of view are done after achieving concentration. Also, in engaging in the Bodhisattva's deeds, Shantideva says that you achieve serenity in accordance with what appears in the chapter on meditative stabilization. Then, when you cultivate wisdom, you cultivate it via rational analysis. Therefore, the sequence of the last two perfections and the sequence of the last two trainings are, in all cases, sequences in which wisdom is cultivated after you have previously achieved concentration. In discussions on how to cultivate that wisdom, every statement about analysis of the real nature and the diversity gives the same sequence of meditation, so do not imagine that it is the other way around. Beyond just these sources, there are many great texts that say this, so there is no doubt that you must analyze during meditation. While this is so, if you perform only analytical meditation when cultivating insight after you have achieved serenity, your earlier serenity will be destroyed. Since it was not refreshed, serenity will be gone. Thus, as explained earlier, insight also will not develop. Therefore, you must sustain the serenity that previously set up a condition of mental stability, since you must also practice analytical meditation. Both are necessary. Furthermore, in the practice of insight, at the conclusion of analytical meditation, you practice stabilizing meditation on that meaning. By doing this, you will achieve a union of serenity and insight focused upon selflessness. The second of Commentaries stages of meditation says, the Clouds of Jewels Sutra says, thus those who are skilled in eliminating faults take up the practice of meditation on emptiness in order to be free from all elaborations. Through much meditation on emptiness, their minds spread everywhere. When they search for the nature of the places where the mind is happy, they realize that it is empty. When they search for what the mind is, they realize that it is empty. When they search everywhere for the nature of the mind that knows the emptiness, they realize that it is empty. By realizing this, they enter signless contemplation. This shows that only those who have previously carried out a full examination will enter into signlessness. It very clearly shows that it is impossible simply to eliminate mental activity altogether, and that it is impossible for wisdom to enter the non-conceptual state without having analyzed the nature of things. This passage states that when you investigate the places where your mind spreads and the mind which spreads there, you realize that they are empty. That when you search for or analyze the knowledge that they are empty, you realize that it is empty, and that those analyses are done during meditation on emptiness. It also says that the person who analyzes and realizes that they are empty will enter the yoga of signlessness. Therefore, it clearly shows impossibility of what Hashan claimed, that by merely withdrawing your mind and eliminating, bringing anything to mind, you can enter into a signless or non-conceptual state without first using rational analysis to search analytically. Therefore, as I explained before, the sword of reason cuts through phenomena, revealing that they lack even a shred of the two selves, and brings forth certainty about self-essence. So, if a thing possessed of the two selves does not exist, then how could the non-existence, which is its negation, be established in reality? The conception that the non-existence, that is the absence of the son of a barren woman, really exists must be based on the observation of a barren woman and her son. If those two are never observed, then no one thinks to construct the expression the non-existence of the son of the barren woman truly exists. In the same way, when you see no truly existent thing anywhere at all, you also do not give rise to the conception that the non-existence of that truly existent thing is something truly existent. Therefore, you stop all thoughts conceiving of signs. Because if a thought conceives of true existence, it must be a thought that conceives of the true existence of either an existent or a non-existent. So, if the larger category is negated, then the subcategory is negated. This is what the Commentaries stages of meditation says. Thus, to achieve a non-conceptual sublime wisdom, you alternate. 1. Developing certainty, profound certainty that there is not even a particle of true existence in anything or non-thing whatsoever. And 2. Stabilizing your mind on the conclusion thereby reached. You cannot achieve such wisdom by simply constricting mental activity without an analysis of an object, because this approach does not make it possible to eliminate the conception of true existence. This is because it is merely not thinking of true existence. It is not knowledge of the absence of true existence. In the same way, it is merely not thinking of a self, but is not knowledge of the lack of self. So, cultivating it does not stop the conception of self. Therefore, you must distinguish between not thinking about true existence or the existence of true selves and knowing the lack of true existence or the non-existence of the two selves. Remember this critical point. Overcoming objection to that. Objection. Since analytical discrimination of the meaning of selflessness is conceptual, it is contradictory that it should produce the non-conceptual wisdom mind. This is because there must be harmony between the effect and its cause. Reply. The Bhagwan himself spoke about this using an example. The Kashyapa Chapter Sutra says, Kashyapa, it is thus, for example, two trees are dragged against each other by the wind, and from that a fire starts, burning the two trees. In the same way, Kashyapa, if you have correct analytical discrimination, the power of a noble being's wisdom will emerge. With its emergence, correct analytical discrimination will itself be burnt up. This means that the wisdom of the noble being emerges from analytical discrimination. Kamalashala's second stage of meditation says. So this part is finished. Even though it has a conceptual nature, its nature is one of proper mental activity. Therefore, because it engenders non-conceptual sublime wisdom, those who seek the sublime wisdom should rely upon it. Objection. The Perfect Wisdom Sutra says that if one is involved in the idea that things such as form are empty and selfless, then one is involved in science. Therefore, analytical discrimination of emptiness is not tenable. Reply. Such a statement in sutras refer to holding emptiness to be truly existent. As I have explained frequently above, they do not refer to holding simply this is empty. Otherwise, those sutras would not speak of analysis when cultivating the perfection of wisdom. Page 252 and the final paragraph. And page 353. Regarding these meditations, I have taken the earlier instructions on the stages of the path as profound as a foundation and then enlarged upon them. One of those early instructions, Bodhisattvas, little digest of instruction says, some say that you determine the absence of intrinsic existence using reason during study and reflection, but meditate strictly without conceptual thought at the time of meditation. If this were so, then this would be an emptiness disconnected from that study and reflection. And because of being meditated upon in a separate way, it would not be a remedy, therefore, even at the time of meditation, analytically discriminate by using whatever you are accustomed to, such as the lack of being single or plural, or dependent arising, and then stabilizing your mind without even the slightest discursive thought. If you meditate on that, in that way, it will remedy the afflictions. For those who wish to follow the sole deity, Adisha, and For those who wish to practice the system of the perfections, this is the way to cultivate wisdom. By first becoming accustomed to the selflessness of a person, you can then proceed in this way. Also, Atisha says, who understood emptiness, Chandrakirti, the disciple of Nagarjuna, who was prophesied by the Tathagata and who saw the true reality. One will learn this true reality from instructions which derive from him. This teaching is like what Atisha says in his Madhyamaka instructions. He says that you alternate between analytical meditation and meditation which stabilizes on the conclusions of such analysis. There is no difference between this and the system of Master Kamala Shila. As explained before, the intended meaning of Chandrakirti's commentary on the middle way, Bhavivika's heart of the middle way, and the writings of Master Shantideva are also the same. This is also explained many times in the teachings of Maitreya and the text of Nabala Sangha, and is clearly explained in the instructions for the perfection of wisdom by the scholar Ratnakara Shanti, who considers a Sangha system to be accurate. Therefore, it is evident that the texts and instructions deriving from Nagarjuna and Sangha agree about the way to sustain insight, the measure of achieving insight through meditation. When you meditate using discriminating wisdom to analyze in this way, you have an approximation of insight until you develop such pliancy as I explained above. Once you develop pliancy, it is genuine insight. The nature of pliancy and the way to produce it are, as I explained them above. Pliancy is also induced by previously attained and continuing serenity. So insight is not simply a matter of having pliancy. What is it? Insight is when the power of analytical meditation itself is able to induce pliancy. In this regard, insight observing this diversity and insight observing the real nature are alike. Thus, the sutra unraveling the intended meaning says, Bhagavan, when Bodhisattvas who have not attained mental and physical pliancy attend internally to an object of concentration, which is an image based on how they have understood those conventional phenomena in deep reflection, what is that attention called? Maitreya, it is not insight. You can say that they have a conviction that is an approximation of insight. Also, Ratnakara Shanti's instructions, the perfection of wisdom, says, thus the attainment of insight lies in the attainment of physical and mental pliancy. As you have a strong interest in the object of internal concentration, which is an image based upon this same object, as you have reflected upon it, you will carry out analytical discrimination until you have developed physical and mental pliancy. This attention is an approximation of insight. When pliancy does develop, the attention is insight. This means that in meditation on the diversity of conventional phenomena, serenity, insight, and the way they are united are comparable to what is done in meditation on the real nature. When analysis itself can induce pliancy, it can also induce one-pointed focus. Therefore, the advantage of having already attained serenity is that the analytical meditation of discrimination can itself induce this one-pointed focus. So, for those who have well-established serenity, even analytical meditation have serenity. Thus, helps serenity. Thus, do not think, if I carry out the analytical meditation of discrimination, my stability will diminish. Your meditation will constitute an insight that combines stabilizing meditation and analytical meditation and on the real nature. Only when you meet the standard of having found an authentic, accurate understanding of the philosophical view of either of the two selflessnesses, and after having focused and meditated upon this is what distinguishes genuine insight. It cannot be distinguished by any other means. What kind of things do not distinguish it? Meditation on any object may stop the coarse perception of the dualistic appearance of object and subject, leaving your mind like a stainless sky. Your mind may be endowed with qualities of knowledge, clarity, and limpidity. Like a flame undisturbed by wind, the mind may remain steady for a long time. External and internal objects may appear to your mind like rainbows or wispy smoke. and may continue to appear that way for a long time. When you focus attention on any object that appears before the mental consciousness, it may not be able to stand even the slightest attention, and then your serenity is restored. At first, coarse external objects such as form and sound do appear. It seems that understanding and experience of the sort which you formerly possessed have been expelled. When you focus your mind on them, they disappear without fear, bearing the slightest attention. Such experiences occur, but cannot be considered cases of finding the view which knows the reality beyond the two extremes. Nor can these hazy, indistinct appearances be at all considered as illusion-like in the Madhyamaka sense. This is because many such things appear when you sustain stability for a long time, even when your mind is not directed toward the view. As I explained before, the sense of illusion-like requires that an appearance be based on two factors. One, the certainty of a reasoning consciousness, which has concluded that phenomena lack essence, and two, conventional valid cognition's undeniable establishment of appearances. Things such as forms may appear to your mind under a sheer and diaphanous aspect, like a rainbow. This is simply the combination of the absence of any tangible object and the glimmering appearance of which occurs despite the absence of anything tangible. Thus, since this sort of ascertainment lacks even the slightest certainty about the absence of intrinsic existence, it is not right to consider this an illusion-like appearance, because to do so is to call the tangible intrinsic existence, treating two objects of negation, intrinsic existence and the tangible, as though they were the same. Otherwise, if you did claim that the Madhyamaka sense of illusion and falsity is something of this sort, when a rainbow and a wispy smoke are taken as the substrata, the idea that they intrinsically exist would never occur, because according to your approach, the very ascertainment of the substrata would be an ascertainment that they appear but lack intrinsic existence. Also, when the tangible is itself taken as the substratum, this approach would not lead to the ascertainment that the tangible lacks intrinsic existence, because according to your approach, the ascertainment of the substratum is the conception of intrinsic existence. Therefore, when form and such appear in that way, this is not what it means to appear like an illusion, because there is not even the slightest repetition of the object of misconception, which thinks that this sheer and diaphanous appearance is the mode of being or ontological status of those objects. As I explained, illusion-like appearance refers to what appears to someone who has previously found and who has not forgotten their authentic view. The stages of the path tradition, deriving from Geshe Gwenpa describes how to generate that understanding of emptiness as follows. First, you meditate on selflessness of persons. You then meditate on the meaning of the selflessness of objects, bringing mindfulness and vigilance to bear. In a long session, failure to use mindfulness will cause you to fluctuate between perplexity and excitement, and thus there will be little benefit. Therefore, during the fourth session, page 359, after the reply, moreover, there is one special case to consider. The analytical meditation immediately preceding the achievement of insight can induce one-pointed focus. I did explain above that it is impossible to establish serenity prior to achieving insight. You repeatedly alternate between analysis and post-analytical stabilization. I explained that after you reach serenity, analytical meditation cannot induce non-discursiveness. I made these explanations in terms of the situation prior to the attaining of insight, leaving aside the exceptional case of analysis at the inception of insight. In brief, prior to achieving serenity, it is impossible to reach serenity by doing stabilizing meditation in alternation, stabilizing your mind at the conclusion of analysis. Once serenity is established, but prior to achieving insight, analytical meditation cannot itself induce a solid one-pointed stability. Therefore, reaching solid stability through analysis, extensive analysis by discriminating wisdom comes about when insight is achieved. Thus, the union of insight and serenity is also posited at that point. But I'm wary of being long-winded, so I will write no more.
Page number 296, How to Cultivate Special Insight. This is 3 points explaining the meaning of the statement that special insight is cultivated in dependence on calm abiding. In the Sutra Unraveling the Intended Meaning, it says that special insight should be cultivated later after calm abiding has first been accomplished. This is also stated similarly in many other texts, such as those by Venerable Maitreya, Bodhisattva levels and Sarvaka levels. Baba Viveka Shantideva Kamaleshila's 3-volume Stages of Meditation and Instruction on the Perfection of Wisdom. The intended meaning of this text is not that after prior generation of calm abiding observing any object without observing the meaning of selflessness, special insight is understood as just sustaining the observation of selflessness. This is because the two, calm abiding and special insight, are not differentiated by way of their object of observation. Instruction on the Perfection of Wisdom also explains that after observing suchness, the emptiness of duality between subject and object, and generating calm abiding, you will generate special insight through analytical meditation. Observing that same object of observation, Arya Asanga also discusses a special insight that observes the varieties and says that after calm abiding has been generated, a special insight with peaceful and coarse aspects is cultivated in dependence on it. Moreover, he says that it is a path common to both non-Buddhists and Buddhists as well as to ordinary beings and Aryas. That being so, it is inappropriate for someone who has not attained calm abiding and who is never accomplishing it not to practice placing the mind single-pointedly on whatever object of observation it may be, but rather to practice analyzing various aspects with respect to his object of observation. The reason for this is that in the former manner calm abiding is achieved, whereas in the later manner it is unachievable. If instead of extending your earlier habituation to mere stabilizing meditation, you use the calm abiding and achieved previously to carry out analytical meditation that individually differentiates with wisdom whichever object is appropriate to the occasion, the mode, or the varieties, you can eventually induce a single pointed concentration, since the extremely powerful kind of single-pointed concentration achieved through that cannot be achieved through the former method of mere stabilization. Analytical concentration is praised. The true manner of accomplishing it is to first seek calm abiding and then afterwards cultivate special insight in dependence on it. So that is the general reason why there are two different modes of sustaining calm abiding and special insight, even if the object of observation, for instance selflessness, is the same. The same page at the end, what paths of vehicle, Mahayana or Hinayana, this system relates to. This is 3 points. Now, what does this sequential approach to the generation of calm abiding? So this is actually not evident in the great treatise of the text, but here it's more emphasized on this subject. It is common to the vehicle of hearers and solitary realizers and the great vehicle of the perfection, in fact, to the 14th system. In my great exposition in the exposition of the Path of Mantra, I have already explained the assertions of individual tantras and their commentaries to the effect that it is similar for the 3 classes of tantra. Page number 298, continue. So here His Holiness comments that this is a special emphasis on the Tantra practice. Continue reading. With regard to highest Yoga Tantra, it says in Instruction on the Perfection of Wisdom, quoting from Guhya Samaja Tantra, when you examine your own mind, all phenomena dwell in the mind, phenomena dwell in that watcher of space, phenomena do not exist nor their nature. Also in the Descent to Langa Sutra, in dependence on mind only, external things are not conceived. With this enforced statements, Ratnakarasante explains the three levels of yoga are taught. The one mentioned, observing mind only, one observing suchness, and one without appearance. It appears that the mode of attaining calm abiding and spiritual insight on the first two levels through stabilizing and analytical meditation is explained as above. Therefore, he asserts that the way they are generated in a mind that observes the mode is similar. Even in the context of highest yoga tantra, our system requires one's method for developing an understanding of the view to be in accord with what appears in the Madhyamika texts. With respect to how it is sustained, there is analysis of and then mental attention to suchness during some subsequent attainment phases of the generation and complete stages. Third outline, explanation of the actual way to cultivate spiritual insight in dependence on calm abiding. This is 2 points. The need to find a view. If you have not found the way of selflessness, no matter what system of meditation you perform, that meditation will not rest on the meaning of suchness. That is why it is necessary to find a view. Page number 299. This is 3 points. The actual way to sustain the view. This is 6 points. The need for both analytical and stabilizing meditation. If you have an understanding of the view but are not mindful of it and do not place the mind upon it during meditation on suchness, the latter will not be a meditation on suchness. Therefore, placing the mind without reflecting on anything at the end of some little preparatory analysis of the view does not constitute sustaining suchness either. Becoming mindful of the view and merely familiarizing oneself with placing the mind within it also amounts to nothing more than the above method for sustaining calm abiding. Hence, that is not the meaning of the text explaining a different method for sustaining spiritual insight. That is why you should individually analyze the meaning of suchness by means of wisdom, as explained before, and then sustain it. If you only do analytical meditation, however, your calm abiding developed before will deteriorate it. Therefore, you should mount a horse of calm abiding, sustain analysis, and occasionally alternate it with stabilizing meditation. More specifically, if the stability factor lessens through increased analytical meditation, you should do more stabilizing meditation and refresh the stability factor. If you do not really want to analyze because of increased stabilizing meditation, or if despite analysis your mind is not fit to go anywhere and becomes engrossed in the quiescence factor, you should do analytical meditation a lot, since it is very powerful. If you cultivate the two, calm abiding and spiritual insight, in continuous equality, you should do it that way. In stages of meditation, it says, at times when wisdom becomes very predominant, because spiritual insight has been cultivated, calm abiding is lessened. Therefore, since the mind will flicker like a butter lamp set in a breeze, it will not perceive suchness very clearly. That is why you should cultivate calm abiding at those times. Also, whenever calm abiding predominates, like someone asleep, you do not see suchness clearly. Therefore, at those times, you should cultivate wisdom. With respect to sustained analysis in this manner, it is appropriate to hold all conceptions whatever to be apprehensions of signs that apprehend the true existence, and stop them. This is because it was proven several times before that conceptions that are apprehensions of true existence are only one class of conceptions. The view that anything apprehended by conception falls down a causality of reasoning is a differentiation whose object is negation is excessive, and it has been proven that this is not the meaning of the scriptures either. Even without making such an assertion about other objects, you may wonder if everything the mind apprehends regarding suchness is an apprehension of science, which is an adherence to true existence. This also is a fault, the fault of an erroneous mode of apprehension, but it does not concern anything apprehended, for it has been set forth that those who do not see beyond and seek liberation need to search for suchness by various means of scripture and reasoning. Page number 301. In an essay on the mind of enlightenment, it says, where conceptual thought appears, how could there be emptiness? Tathagatas don't perceive minds with aspects, or analyzers and object to analyze. Where these agents and objects exist, enlightenment does not exist. What is being pointed out is that someone who apprehends objects of investigation and investigators are truly existent has not attained enlightenment. If the wisdom of individual investigation were refuted, and if the mere objects of investigation and investigators were refuted, this would be in contradiction to the settling of suchness. in this text through many avenues of analysis associated with individual investigation. Also, if those two were not perceived by Buddhas, they would be non-existent. And in the same text, it says, meditating on emptiness, called non-production, emptiness, and selflessness as inferior nature is not to meditate on it. This does not refute the meditation that observes selflessness, the emptiness which is the non-existence of inherent production. Rather, it refutes the meditation on an emptiness that is being reproved, an inferior nature apprehended as truly existent. In praise of the Transcendent One, it says, when you teach the nectar of emptiness to clear away all conceptual thinking, whosoever adheres to it is very much reproved by you. In the same way, it says in Precious Kalan, accordingly, self and selflessness are not as they should correctly observable. The views of a self and selflessness were therefore rejected by the Buddha. It is also saying that since neither self nor selflessness are established in reality, the Buddha rejected the view that two really exist but did not refute the view of selflessness. This is because, according to the above quotation from the Refutation of Objections, if phenomena were not without the inherent existence of inherent establishment will exist. In the verse summary of the Perfection of Wisdom in 1,000 lines, it says, although the Bodhisattva thinks this aggregate is empty, engaged in science, he destroys the basis of non-production. Also in the Perfection of Wisdom in 100,000 lines, when engaging in what is called empty and selfless form, one engages in science, one does not engage in the perfection of wisdom. The meaning of these statements refers to the apprehension of emptiness and so forth as truly existent. Otherwise, the phrase, he distrusts the basis of non-production, would not make sense either, for to have trust in it would also be to engage in science. In the same sutra, it says, one who thoroughly knows that things like lack inherent existence is engaged in the supreme perfection of wisdom, and when uncompounded, compounded black and white phenomena are shattered by wisdom and not even thus remains to be seen. In the world, this is counted as the perfection of wisdom. In the King of Meditative Stabilization Sutra, it also says, if phenomena are discerned as selfless and once discerned or meditated on, that is the cause for attaining the fruit, nirvana. Through any other cause, you won't find peace. Also, in essence of the perfection of wisdom, Shariputra asks, how should a Bodhisattva who wishes to engage in the profound perfection of wisdom train? And Avalokiteshvara replies, he should thoroughly and correctly view even those five aggregates as assumptive of inherent existence. There are many statements like this which would otherwise be contradicted. That is why it says in praise of the sphere of reality, the Dhamma supremely cleans the mind, is a lack of inherent existence, and as long as one apprehends I and mind, one infuse aspects from without. When the two aspects of non-self are seen, the seeds of conditioned existence cease. Page number 303. In Commentary on the Middle Way, it also says, therefore, by viewing the self and mind as empty, the yogi will be completely liberated. You should understand this in accordance with the statements and sustain the continuity of ascertaining selflessness and the absence of inherent existence. Here it says in the stages of meditation, in Dharani of non-conception, it says, the science of form and so forth are abundant by not attending to them. This implies that one does not attend to whatever is not observed of an investigation with wisdom. It does not imply the mere absence of attention. It is not an abandonment through merely abandoning the attention, which is the beginningless strong adherence to form and so forth, like in the absorption of non-discrimination. These passages from the scriptures are saying that apprehension of science should be abandoned through a meditation in which the mind does not attend to anything, yet the intended meaning set forth is that you correctly investigate with analytical wisdom and then establish meditative equipoise on the meaning of your realization that not even a particle of the observed object of the apprehension of true existence is observed. In stages of meditation, it says, there is the following statement, when you search what the mind is, you realize that it is empty. When you thoroughly search for the mind, realizing that its emptiness, you realize that it is empty. Through such a realization, you enter the yoga of singlelessness. This indicates that the preparatory reflection is the entrance to singlelessness. It very clearly indicates that it's impossible to enter into complete non-conceptuality by merely abandoning mental attention altogether without analyzing the emptiness of things by means of wisdom. This treatment from the cloud of jewels of Sutra is saying that if you have not found the way of suchness through correct prior analysis, you will not be able to engage in the meaning of suchness non-conceptually. In stages of meditation, it is in order to refute the presumptuous claim that you can then realize what is said to be inconceivable, beyond mind, and so forth by merely hearing and thinking about the profound meaning. It was taught that since these are objects known by the individual Aryas themselves, they are inconceivable by others, and the like. This was also set forth in order to refute improper reflection upon apprehending the profound meaning as truly existent. However, it does not refute correct analysis by means of wisdom of individual investigation. It is said that if that were refuted, many reasonings and scriptures would be contradicted. Although it is considered an entity of conceptual thought, non-conceptual wisdom arises from it because it is an entity of correct mental attention. Therefore, those who want that wisdom should rely on it. It is very important to understand the way in which these statements refute the Chinese abbot's preposition that even without finding the view that settles suchness in Tibetan scriptures and reasonings, suchness is realized by meditative ecobias without any mental attention whatsoever. These methods of meditation also appear in early instructions on the stages of path. In Bodhisattva's jewel box, it says, while hearing and thinking through reasonings, some say you settle that there is no inherent existence. But when you meditate, cultivate non-thought. If you do that, this emptiness, unconnected, cultivate apart, will not serve as antidote. This, even at the time of meditation, investigate that which you are familiar with, not one or many, dependent relation, and so forth. Also abide a bit in a non-conceptual. If you meditate like that, you will cure the afflictions, those who wish to follow the Divine One and wish to practice the system of perfections, that is their method for cultivating wisdom. Familiarized with the selflessness of persons, they should engage in it accordingly. The elder also said this well, through whom is emptiness realized, through him foretold by Tathagata, who saw reality, that is that which is true, Nagarjuna's student and the Kriti. Through oral instructions transmitted from them, the truth, the reality will be realized. Page number 307. In instructions on the perfection of wisdom, it also says, then you observe that very image connected with the analysis. When you experience both of them in your mind through the continuum of uninterrupted and unobstructive mental attention, it is called a path of union between karma abiding and special insight. That is to say, karma abiding and special insight are a pair, and their relation is one of the conjunction. They operate bound to each other. Unobstructed means that there is no need to stop the process of analytical meditation and place the mind in non-conceptuality. Non-conceptuality is induced by that analytical meditation itself. To experience both is to experience both the karma abiding that observes the non-conceptual image and the special insight that observes the image connected with analytic conceptions. Through the continuum should be understood from the point of view that the analytical special insight and the karma abiding at the end of the analysis do not arise simultaneously. However, when there is actual karma abiding induced by the power of analysis, both special insight, the intense differentiation of phenomena that observes the mode, and karma abiding, the meditative stabilization that firmly and single-pointedly abides on the mode, operate in association. At such time, karma abiding and special insight are mixed and operate equally. For that, it is necessary to gain a realization arising from meditation. Therefore, a collection of the two that allows one to individually investigate the meaning of selflessness from within a non-conceptual state of firm stability, like a little fish moving. So we have reached the summary of the general path. So in the songs of experience, through the single-pointed familiarization evidently brings meditative concentration. Here, the correct analysis of the mode of beings of the things by individual investigation, this verse and the next stanza, meditating on the space like emptiness of meditative ecopoise and the illusion like emptiness of post-meditation state, and engaging in the practices of Bodhisattvas through the union of method and wisdom is praiseworthy. And the next verse, thus generating the common bud, which is essential for both the causal and resultant vehicles of Mayana. So normally I'm very fluent with this verse, but today I cannot remember. And then with the proficient captain's guidance, entering into the ocean of tantras. So actually it's an end of, so we will keep that, it's the end of the text. So this outline of the Midland Lumbrim written by Tujang Rinpoche. So the way of writing the outline, the Phabangor Rinpoche's reincarnation who passed away, and it was roughly presented by him, and then Tujang Rinpoche went through it and corrected and then formulated it. And there is also a print with all the outlines, and I also have got the transmission of this, and I once also have given this transmission once in Sarah. So I haven't been able to read the outline till here now, so I just read it today separately. The actual presentation, general introduction to the instructions taught here, corresponds with the manner of explanation proposed by scholars, the actual explanation in accordance with that manner of explanation, showing the greatness of the author in order to show that teachings have a reliable source, showing the greatness of the teachings in order to generate respect for the instructions, how teaching that possesses these two greatnesses should be listened to and explained, how teaching that possesses these two greatnesses should be listened to, showing the greatness of the author in order to show that the teachings have a reliable source, how Adisha took birth in an excellent family, how Adisha obtained his positive qualities on that basis, having obtained them, how Adisha performed the deeds for the sake of teaching, how Adisha obtained his positive qualities, how Adisha obtained the qualities of comprehensive scriptural knowledge, and how he obtained the qualities of realization of his correct accomplishment. How Adisha obtained the positive of comprehensive scriptural knowledge, how Adisha learned the areas of general knowledge, and how he learned mantra, how Adisha was ordained and learned the collections of inner knowledge. How Adisha obtained the qualities of realizations of its correct accomplishment, how all qualities of realizations are contained in 3 trainings. How Adisha was accomplished in 3 trainings, Adisha's accomplishment in the training of ethics, meditative stabilization, and wisdom. Adisha's accomplishment in the training of ethics, how Adisha was actually accomplished in ethics and the proper production of ethics. How Adisha was actually accomplished in ethics is 3. The Adisha possessed the highest vows of individual liberation. How Adisha possessed the Bodhisattva vows, and how Adisha possessed Varshayana vows. Adisha's accomplishment in the training of meditative stabilization, the common and uncommon. The accomplishment in the training of wisdom is also 2, common and uncommon, having attained those positive qualities. The deeds Adisha did for the sake of the teachings, this in India and in Tibet. This in Tibet, due to Adisha's possessing these 3 causes, his ability to ascertain the victor's intention, being cared for by protected deities, how Adisha's lineage is uninterrupted, the fact that Adisha was learning the 5 areas of knowledge. The special qualities of his disciples, Adisha's disciple in India, Ngarvi in Tibet, and Adisha's foremost disciple, showing the greatness of the teaching in order to generate respect for the instruction. Presenting this text as possessing the 4 greatnesses, the greatness of recognizing all the teachings as being non-contradictory, identifying the teaching, how all the teachings are recognized to not to be contradictory, how is to be demonstrated through scripture and logic that it will be contradictory not to accept this, establishing that teachings are non-contradictory, clearing up doubts. The greatness of all the Buddha's teaching occurred to you as instruction has 3. First, the distinction of pure and impure manners of comprehension. Second, how all the Buddha's teachings come into view as useful instructions. Third, indication of analytical meditation as a means of making all teachings appear as instructions. The greatness of allowing you to easily discover the victor's intentions has 2. For beginners, the victor's intention is not easy to find without a guru's oral instruction. The victor's intention is found through a guru's oral instructions. The greatness of a great misdeed stopping by itself has 3, showing the abandonment of the Dharma as the biggest misdeed. When there is a realization along the lines of the first 2 greatnesses, the misdeed stops by itself. You should come to realize such certainty from the White Lotus Sutra and other texts. Explanation of how teachings possessing these 2 greatnesses should be listened to and explained has 3. How to listen, how to explain, how generally to proceed at the end. How to listen has 3. Thinking about the advantages of listening to the Dharma, developing respect for the Dharma and those who teach it, the actual way to listen. The actual way to listen has 3. Indication of how to listen in general, the way in which having relayed this to your mind is necessary to listen, how to keep in mind the purpose of attainment. How to listen in general, giving up the 3 faults of a vessel, relying on the 6 discriminations, giving up the 3 faults of a vessel, relying on the 6 discrimination. The 6 discrimination are contemplating the discrimination of oneself as patient, 1 expounding the Dharma as a doctor, instruction as a medicine, persistent practice as a cure, Tadakatas as exalted beings, and Dhamma tradition to last long. Generating the discrimination of persistent practice as a cure, the contempt of striving for words without practicing them, the importance of discrimination of oneself as someone ill, the instruction to act accordingly, having identified the meaning of persistence. How to explain, considering the benefits of explaining the Dharma, generating respect for the teacher and the teachings, the attitude and the activities to explain with, the distinction between whom the explanation should be and should not be given to. The attitude and activities to explain with has 2, the attitude and 2nd activities. How generally to proceed at the end, what to do afterwards, the actual thing to do, the benefit of this, the general mode of behavior of saints, the advice to cherish them, since it is a great fault to turn away from them. Page number 3. Explanation of the stages by which a student of the actual instructions should be guided. Has 2, the route of the path, relying on the spiritual master, the stages of the training, the mind, once you have relied. The relying on the spiritual teacher, which is the root of the path, has 2, the somewhat elaborate explanation for generating certainty, then the condensed presentation of how to sustain meditation. The somewhat elaborate explanation for general certainty is 2, the need to rely on a spiritual teacher since all positive qualities depend on him, the actual way to rely on a spiritual teacher. The actual way to rely on a spiritual teacher, characteristics of the one to be relied on, the virtuous spiritual friend, characteristics of the one who relies, the student, the way the student relies on the virtuous spiritual friend, 4th, the benefits of reliance, 5, the drawbacks of not relying, 6, a summary of the meaning of these points. Characteristics of the one to be relied on, the virtuous spiritual friend has 2, identification of a guru, 2nd, the characteristics of a guru. 2nd, the characteristics of a guru has 3, the highest characteristics, middle one, and the minimum. The highest one has 2, positive qualities that the guru himself needs, positive qualities necessary for others' welfare. Minimum characteristics, the actual minimum of characters, the expediency of association with characteristics. Explaining the characteristics of the one who relies, the student, the fault of someone who does not have 5 characteristics and the benefit of someone who does have them. Explaining the specific of the various in detail, specific of achieving the conducive condition and eliminating the adverse condition. The need to strive for those features. The way the student relies on the virtuous spiritual friend as 2, explaining the need to rely on someone with the characteristics, the actual manner of relying on someone who has the characteristics. The actual manner of relying on someone who has the characteristics has 2, the manner of relying in thought, the manner of relying through actions. Page number 4. The manner of relying in thought has 2, the root training in faith, 2nd, remembering his kindness so as to generate respect. First, the root training in faith has 5, explaining faith as the basis of all qualities, identification of faith, the need to discriminate the spiritual master as a Buddha, the disadvantages of conceiving faults, the way of restraining concepts of faults, the manner of relying through actions, the need for reliance through actions, A condensed explanation of the three means of pleasing the spiritual teacher. The extensive explanation of those three means, offering the Guru material things, practicing in accordance with his advice, the benefits of reliance, benefits such as approaching the state of a Buddha, bad karma is exhausted, and the benefit exists, even that of making offerings to numerous Buddhas. The drawbacks of not relying, the actual it ruins this life and future ones. No positive qualities are attained, and earlier ones deteriorated. The disadvantages of relying on non-virtuous spiritual friends and bad companions. Summary of the meaning of these points: the importance of proper reliance as the root of perpetual striving, the need for confessions and a vow, because if that proper reliance does not come about, it is a great fault. How if you act in that manner, the realization of reliance is not far away. The condensed presentation of how to sustain meditation, the actual way to sustain meditation, the reason why meditation need to be sustained by means of two modes of sustaining. The actual way to sustain meditation, what to do during the meditation session itself, what to do during the periods between sessions, what to do during the meditation session itself, has three: what to do in preparation, during the actual meditation session, and at the end of the meditation session. What to do in preparation: cleaning your dwelling and arranging representations of the exalted body, speech and mind, laying out offerings, sitting posture and mental attitude, visualization of the merit field, accumulation of merit and purification of negativities, mental offering and request for blessings. Accumulation of merit and purification of negativities is three: the reason why it is necessary to accumulate merit and purify negativities. Explanation of accumulation and purification in detail, categorization of individual elements. Explanation of accumulation and purification in detail is two: the actual detailed explanation and the need to take the meaning of the verse to heart. Actual detailed explanation is 7. Prostration, offerings, confession of negativities, rejoicing, requesting the will of Dharma to be turned, supplication and dedication. Prostration has 2. Prostration combining the 3 doors, prostrations of 3 individual doors. Prostrations of 3 individual doors has 3: physical prostration, mental and verbal prostrations. Offerings has 2: unsurpassable offerings and unsuppressible offerings. Unsurpassable offerings have 2: actual topic, the motivation for prostrations and offerings. What to do during actual meditation session, how to sustain meditation in general, how to sustain the meditation of this context. How to sustain meditation in general has 3: identification of a need for meditation, the faults of bad meditation, how to sustain good meditation. How to sustain the meditation of this context has 3: thinking about the benefits of reliance and about the faults of non-reliance. How to train in faith by means of thinking about the Guru's positive qualities, training in the respect that remembers the kindness. What to do at the end of meditation session, what should actually be done at the end. The time and duration of meditation. Time and duration of meditation is 3: indication of the time of meditation, how to meditate in the beginning, how to sustain the meditation once it is stabilized a bit, and advice on how to avoid exhaustion. What to do during the periods between sessions. General practices enhancing the practice of the object of meditation, the causes of calm abiding and special insight. The causes of calm abiding and special insight has 4: controlling the sense doors, introspective behavior, knowing the right measure of food, exerting yourself in yoga without sleeping, and what to do while lying down to sleep. Introspective behavior, what to do while lying down to sleep, how to apply this to the intervals between all meditations. Page number 6. What to do when lying down to sleep, the time to lie down, the behavior of sleep, mindfulness, introspection, discrimination of getting up. The reason why meditation needs to be sustained by means of 2 modes of sustaining. The 2 modes of sustaining: refutation of misconceptions that although they are both analytical and stabilization meditation, one single person does not practice them. Refutation of the misconception that asserts that all conceptions apprehend signs. Refutation of the misconception that asserts that if a lot of analytical meditation is done prior to the arisal of meditative stabilization, it becomes an obstacle. The 2 modes of sustaining. The reason why both analysis and stabilization are necessary for meditation. Identification of analysis and stabilization. The stages of training the mind once you have relied on a spiritual teacher with regard to the basis of leisure and exhortation to take its essence. How to take the essence. A precious human rebirth. With regard to the basis of leisure and exhortation to take to take its essence. Identification of the leisures and endowments, considering the great value of leisures and endowments, considering the difficulty in finding the leisures and endowments. Identification of leisures and endowments. 2. Leisures and endowments. Leisure is 2. Identification of the leisures. 8. Unfree states. Endowment is 2. The 5 personal endowments. The 5 endowments conditioned by others. Considering the great value of leisures and endowments as 4. Considering the inappropriateness of someone with this special base acting like an animal, how a body of leisures and endowment is the best. How to train in the wish to take the essence, having brought to mind those 2 objectives. The inappropriateness of returning empty-handed, given that not only ultimate but also temporary objectives are not easily accomplished. Considering the difficulty of finding the leisures and endowments, the illustration of the difficulty in finding the leisures and endowments, the reason why it is difficult to find, the rarity of those obtaining, the causes of leisures and endowments, the result of sustaining those objectives, the method of meditation with 4 special features, differentiating the ways of sustaining the meditation. Differentiating the ways of sustaining the meditation, how to contemplate the leisures and endowments from various points of view, how to contemplate the leisures and endowments in particular, how to contemplate the leisures and endowments in particular, the difficulty in finding the leisures and endowments from the point of view of their cause, the difficulty in finding the leisures and endowments from the point of view of the result, how to take the essence, the way in which 3 types of beings practice the path, brief summary of the topics of the general path, the way in which 3 types of beings practice the path, general certainty with regard to the general presentation of the path, the actual way of taking its essence, generating certainty with regard to the general presentation of the path, how all Buddha's teachings are contained in the paths of the 3 types of beings, giving reasons for gradual guidance from the point of view of the 3 types of beings, how all the Buddha's teachings are contained in the paths of the 3 types of beings, how the meaning of all the Buddha's teaching is subsumed under the accomplishment of 2 objectives, how lesser beings attain high status, how intermediate beings achieve the certain goodness of liberation, how great beings attain omniscience, elucidating the sources of the term 3 types of being, clearing up doubt, how giving reasons for gradual guidance from the point of view of the 3 types of beings, what the purpose is of guiding someone by way of paths of the 3 types of beings, giving reasons for such gradual guidance, with the purpose is of guiding what the purpose is of guiding someone by means of the paths of the 3 beings, giving reasons for such gradual guidance, the actual reasons, the purpose, the actual reasons, the entry gate to the Mahayana, the need to consider its benefits and allow one's delight to increase before generating the mind of enlightenment, along with the relevant sources. The benefits of striving for this mind, how the lesser and intermediate branches of the path are necessary for laying the basis of those benefits, how the lesser and intermediate branches of the path are necessary when training in the actual mind, how the lesser and intermediate branches of the path are also necessary for the ritual accumulation and purification of this mental attitude, advised to cherish the way that teaching cycles of lesser and intermediate beings become branches of the great beings. The order, all paths are contained in 3 trainings for the sake of skill in classification. All paths are contained in 2 collections. The need to enter the mantrayana, how to pursue the perfection path alone, the stages of engagement in mantra, explanation that intention of the lamp for the path and so forth is engagement in both sutra and mantra. The order of the 2 minds and so forth, and how to train in them, the order of trainings. So actually the text translation we have is a little bit different from His Holiness text. So the general summary of the Bud. So before that, I thought I will do conferring the vows of Bodhisattva.
As I mentioned it before, this Bodhisattva generation of bodhicitta is based on the basic path of Bodhisattvas, written by Master Tsongkhapa. And this tradition has for some time kind of declined. And then I asked my precept master, Ling Rinpoche, to revive it. So in the beginning here, we have to visualize the merit filled, who are the ones in whom we take refuge. Just as we did when we did the ceremony for generating bodhicitta. So all the great masters of Tibet, India and Tibet who have cultivated bodhicitta and practiced with the help of which is supported by their understanding and insight into selflessness or emptiness, either from the Chittamatra or Madhyamaka point of view. So we have this time, you have received the commentarial explanation, transmission of Lamrim. And as an auspicious ending or conclusion of this, we'll do this. And in order to do this ceremony of bodhicitta, His Holiness wishes to, the first will, we're suggesting to do the 7-limb prayer. So the text which was written by His Holiness himself, and also the 17 Nalanda Master prayer also should be said. So here, this is not a time for the chant master to boast his voice, but we'll just say the prayer. So you who have perfected wisdom and compassion in all qualities, and praised by all the Buddhas like the white lotus, and who showed the path of dependent origination to quell the suffering and its origin, I pay homage to you. On my crown, I worship you on my crown, Shakyas, the Lion of Shakyas. And you have prophesied that your teaching will spread from north to north, and from your Brahma voice. And this teaching which has spread in the land of snows has now become an ornament of the whole world. This is, we feel fortunate about it. And in spite of this, because of our negative karmas, the teachings have declined, and the environment also have declined. And since we are in such a pathetic situation, it is time now for you to protect us with your compassion. And therefore, all the Tibetans, the people of the land of snows, and the deities of Tibet have sincerely, out of our devotion and fervent prayer to you, we have put together our efforts to offer you the crown protrusion of Tathagatas and your made from pure gold, and also the alms bell, as well as monks' robes that we offer to you, and whatever two collections of wisdom and merit we gain, and we dedicate this for and also the collections of merit we have connected, we have gained in the 3 times. May the teaching of the Buddha, which is the source of happiness and benefit for all humans and gods, and so forth, never decline. We dedicate this for that purpose. All sentient beings, and particularly the beings of this Jambudvipa, may our love and compassion and our actions that come from our love and compassion, thoughts and actions that come from our love and compassion increase, and may there be no conflict in the world. Next is the prayer of Master, the 17 Nalanda Masters. First is praise to the Buddha, homage to the Buddha, then comes praise to Nagarjuna, and then comes Aryadeva. Buddha Palita and Bhaviveka, Master Chandrakirti, Shandi Deva, and then Master Chandarakshita, and then Kamalashila, and then Asanga, and Vasubandhu, and then Dignaga, and Dharmakirti, and then Vimukti Sena, Arya Vimukti Sena, and then Haribhadra, and then Guna Prabha and Shakya Prabha, Shakya Prabha, and then Master Atisha. So all the profound and extensive traditions of the Buddha, you put them into the practices pertaining to the 3 types of beings, and you spread the Dharma in the land of snows. Atisha, the elder, to you I pray. So with regard to the 7th in prayer, we'll just say the last verse. Whatever merit I have gained through prostration, offering, confession, and so forth. dedicate for all beings. So imagine all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, the objects of refuge, really in person here. Jisaba tamje dobe chanchup chirngo Yawa chungse dagi jisaba tamje dobe chanchup chirngo Yabadan jiso yeram wishes wherever merit I have gained by prostrating of making offerings, confession, rejoicing and requesting the Buddhas not to persevere in turning the wheel of the Dharma, I dedicate to attain Buddhahood for the sake of all beings. So next is the request prayer, the request for the Bodhisattva. Please put your hands together. This, fold your hands. Please, Master, please pay attention to me. I wish to take from you the Bodhisattva vows. Silki. If there is no obstacle to that, kindly please, I request you to kindly give this to me. So please bear the meaning in your mind. So the essence is that you are you feel I feel close to you, and you are fond of me and respect me, and therefore you are making your request to me. So it's a waste of time to repeat these lines, but just bear the meaning in your mind. We don't need to do it 3 times. And next is asking if there are any obstacles to you to take this. So what this text is saying, that you taking this Bodhisattva vow, is it not in order to compete with others out of jealousy and competitive feeling, so that you may be able to feel and arrogant that you also have taken the Bodhisattva vows? Or is it not because is it not the case that you are taking Bodhisattva vows because you are being forced to take it by someone else? So of course taking Bodhisattva vows or is up to you. You have every right, and there's no way anyone can force it upon you. So you have to do, if you are interested in taking the vows, then you may follow this procedure that we are doing here. If you do not wish to take the Bodhisattva vows, but at least you should just think of cultivating good heart. And if you take the Bodhisattva vows, then you have to if you don't take the Bodhisattva vows, then you don't have to study the Bodhisattva vows, the 18 root downfalls and 46 secondary infractions. 46. But those of you who do take the Bodhisattva vows must study them and think whether you are able to take the Bodhisattva vows or not, and so that you would keep these 18 root downfalls and 46 secondary infractions. And then in this ritual, there is a question asking whether you have heard the teaching, the sutra, Avatamsaka Sutra, the Bodhisattva Pitaka, and the principal text of Bodhisattvas. So with regards to the Avatamsaka Sutra, I received teachings from Kundalama Lama Rinpoche, and then you're also being asked whether you have heard these two teachings on Avatamsaka Sutra and Shravaka level. And then the next question is, do you understand these, the Bodhisattva scripture? It's not only enough to have heard the teaching, but actually you should be able to, you should be certain about the content of the text, what it actually teaches. But not only that, being able to just repeat what it said there, and be able to say, oh, such and such thing is taught in this text and so forth. And it is asking that do you actually have faith in the Bodhisattva scriptures? So Bodhisattva path, regarding it, we have talked about it for many days now. It's only a matter of whether we are able to cultivate it or not. But it is certain that there is no greater Dharma than religious practice, spiritual practice, than cultivating this altruistic intention. So in order to lead all sentient beings to the state of omniscience, you generate the same intention to reach omniscience. And in order to having said that, then you have to train yourself in the 6 perfections. So you have to feel determined that you will keep the Bodhisattva vows until your death, and from lifetime to lifetime. Throughout your life, you should be able to feel, and bodhicitta should be close to your heart. Feel it close to your heart. Like even at childhood, you should be exhibiting this quality. With regard to the Patimoksha vows, of course, Patimoksha vows are taken for one life. But with regard to Bodhisattva vow, if we could actually be mindful of it in this life, it will leave a good imprint in our mind, and because of that habituation in our mind, it will be manifest in your mind in the next life. And then you will also, when you meet with the qualified Mahayana teachers, you will be able to awaken that seed again and again throughout, from lifetime to lifetime, until you reach Buddhahood. And so Bodhisattva vows will remain once you take it until you become enlightened. And therefore in the rituals also they say that until I reach the essence of enlightenment, I will keep this vow. So when you are asked, are you not being competent with etc., you say, I'm not. And have you heard the Bodhisattva scriptures and its principal text and so forth? You said, yes, I have, and so forth. You say, I have heard a little. So it could mean that you are being humble when you say, I have heard a little about it, or you may not have heard at all. So in any case, you have to find opportunity to make yourself familiar with these texts of the Samsaka Sutra and the Shravaka level and so forth. And so even if you do not know them now, you should have the determination to make yourself familiar with these. And so please, when I ask these questions, answer accordingly. Do you not compete with others by taking this? No. No. Have you heard the teachings of the Samsaka Sutra and Shravaka level? Yes, I have little. Do you know them? Understand them? Yes, I do. Do you have faith in them? And are you able to keep the Bodhisattva precepts? Yes, I am. So next is asking the master to quickly give you the Bodhisattva vows. Master, please pay attention to me. Please give me the Bodhisattva vows of morality perfectly. Please give it to me quickly. So, please repeat this. The Bodhisattva, please give me it to me quickly. Please give the Bodhisattva vows quickly to me. And next is also asking a question. So the next question is, are you a bodhisattva? Do you make a prayer to become a bodhisattva, prayer for enlightenment? Of course, you should rather feel emotional about this. So, so you should be someone like someone who is familiar with the text, the Shantideva's Bodhisattva Charya Avatara, and who is someone who is able to say that, oh, from in this text, such and such thing about bodhicitta is taught, and you have a strong determination in your heart also to cultivate them, to cultivate bodhicitta based on the aspiration to help other sentient beings out of suffering and lead them to the state of omniscience. And so, keeping this in mind, that you will work for all sentient beings, you can think of becoming a bodhisattva in the future, and with that understanding idea, and you can say, yes, I am, when you are asked, are you a bodhisattva? Child of the lineage, the question is child of the lineage or spiritual siblings with such and such name. Are you bodhisattva? Are you a bodhisattva? Do you pray for enlightenment? So, of course, you can take bodhisattva vows from anybody or from in front of an image of a Buddha, but you are now taking, I'm asking, are you taking these bodhisattva vows from me? Do you somehow seek the precepts of the ethics of all the bodhisattvas from me? So now the ritual is being a child of the lineage or spiritual siblings with the name Zhangzi Shurji, Godin Tripa, Rinpoche, and the others. Are you bodhisattvas? Yes, I am. Say that. Repeat. So we are all working hard to become bodhisattvas, aren't we? And therefore, you can say, do you pray for enlightenment? Yes, I do. Do you somehow wish to take the precepts of the ethics of all the bodhisattvas from me? Yes, I do. So next is the actual process of taking the bodhisattva vows. So such and such person has a great interest in taking the bodhisattva vows, and take the Bodhisattva vows, such as the precept or the ethics of restraint, refraining from misdeeds. So the main point in the Bodhisattva practice is to restrain selfish motive. Of course, you can consider yourself, I mean, you can cherish yourself, but not to the expense of the welfare of other beings. So because we all want happiness and don't want suffering. And then the second reason is, by number, you are only one, but the rest are many, infinite. On the other hand, if you actually work for the welfare of others, then it in fact fulfills your own goal as well. So in order to become a Buddha or attain Buddhahood, so here it's being asked that do you want to take the Bodhisattva vows of refraining from misdeeds, which is mainly to say restrain selfish motive, and then ethics of gathering virtues and ethics of serving the welfare of sentient beings, which are those of the gathering virtues means developing the understanding of emptiness. So as it is said in the prayer of Lamrim at the end, whatever I have realized, moved by compassion, I will share it with others. So if you meet with people who need some help, who are interested, and you can teach them how to live a good life. Even if people may not have any religious faith, but if they are interested in the practice of love, compassion, and so forth, you should help them, advise them. And also you can physically help people who are physically incapable, sick, and so forth, and who are not able to move by themselves. You can help them to move around, and also save lives of sentient beings, such as the animals living in sea who have been pushed on the side of the seashore and on the dry ground. You should put them back into the sea and so forth. And so if you look at the animals like dogs and so forth, which need help, of course we should do whatever we can. And then if we look at, it's quite a sad thing that we see butchers killing animals. It's almost like we are helpless because the killing is done on a very large scale these days. So in Tibet, we used to have the opportunity to save lives. I think that one of the reasons for my long life may be because of having saved many lives. I have always felt that if I didn't save the lives of those animals, sheep and goats and so forth, in those days, it was almost like I was actually being illegal or committing a crime sort of thing. So the Bodhisattva vows that the past Buddhas and Bodhisattvas have taken, and so they have taken the Bodhisattva vows and are engaging in the Bodhisattva vows practices. So I'm asking here, are you taking this Bodhisattva vows of the ethics of restraint and the ethics of gathering virtues and ethics of serving the welfare of others? Please sit on your right kneel on your right knee. So those who have bad legs or bad knees, you may just sit normally. So, as we said the prayer of Buddha Shakyamuni and also the 17 Nalanda masters, we should imagine all the objects of refuge, beginning with Buddha Shakyamuni himself, the founder of Buddhism, down to our own root masters in front of us, in the space before us. And peace. Pay attention. O child of lineage, by such and such name, do you wish to take from me the precepts of the ethics of all the Bodhisattvas of the past, future, and present in the 10 directions? That is the ethics of the child of lineage by such name, meaning Gadantra Rinpoche, Thupten Nyima Rinpoche, and the rest. Do you wish to take from me the precepts and ethics of all the Bodhisattvas of the past, the precepts and the ethics of all the Bodhisattvas of the future, and the precepts and the vows of all the ethics of all the Bodhisattvas of the present, who have trained, who will train, and who are training in them. Do you wish to take these vows from me? Yes, I do. Please listen to this question the second time. O child of the lineage, by the name, the upholder of learned and upholder of the Vinaya, Master Tsongkhapa's throne holder, regent, Master Thupten Nyima, do you wish to take from, and the rest, do you wish to take from me the precepts of the ethics of all the Bodhisattvas of the past and future and present, the ethics of restraint, the ethics of gathering virtues, and the ethics of serving the welfare of sentient beings from me? So all the Bodhisattva precepts and the Bodhisattva ethics, do you wish to take them from me? Yes, I do. At the end of the third repetition, response, feel that those who have taken Bodhisattva vows, which have not been declined, please imagine that they are enhanced, and then those that have been declined, that you have caused decline to, are recovered. And those who have not taken Bodhisattva vows before, you should feel that you are now receiving a fresh set of Bodhisattva vows now, at the end of this third response, when you say, yes, I do. So, O child of the lineage, by the name, learned and Vinaya Master Thupten Nyima, do you wish to take from me the precepts of the ethics of all the Bodhisattvas of the past, future, and the present in the 10 directions? That is the ethics of restraint, ethics of gathering virtues, and ethics of serving the welfare of sentient beings. Do you wish to take these from me? Yes, I do. So with this, we have completed the actual ceremony for taking bodhicitta. Please sit down. Next is reporting the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas about this ceremony that the disciples have taken the Bodhisattva vows, but with the Lama prostrating in the different directions. But I will take excuse. I will not do that. My legs don't feel good. But if I were some kind of athlete, then maybe I would stand up and get down from the throne and make prostrations. But I don't have to do that. So, with regard to this, this practice of making prostration by the Lama is clearly mentioned in Khyentse Wangpo's text, prostrating to the four cardinal directions and the four intermediate directions, and then above and below. So in Master Tsongkhapa's text, it is not clearly mentioned. So in the past, I did it. Following this text, I actually made the disciples to make the prostrations. But later, after I saw the Khyentse Wangpo's text, which clearly mentioned that the Lama has to do the prostration, he was a great non-sectarian master. Lived in Kham in the past. So ideally, I should do prostrations in the 10 directions, but I will seek permission not to get down from the throne and do this. But I have a pure principle of taking refuge, and I'm someone who has gained faith based in the Dharma, based on reason. So please allow me to sit on the throne and think that we do permit you to do the prostrations from the throne while seated on the throne. In the first Dalai Lama's praise of Dharma, may I remember my life in all my lifetimes. May I remember my past lives. And may I never be selfishly motivated. And may I never be separated from Bodhisattva. May I have all the conducive conditions for cultivating Bodhisattva. And so if you are intelligent, as Shantideva says, there is nothing greater than cultivating Bodhisattva, generating Bodhisattva within yourself, other than greater than this. So there's nothing greater that you can do. It is the nectar that overcomes death of sentient beings. So there are two ways of approaching the Buddhist practice. One is by actually threatening people, the disciples. The other is actually generating or inspiring the disciples to actually take up the practice based on reason. So when you are taught that this bodhicitta actually brings about all the fulfillment of all our goals, short-term as well as the lasting goal. So to some, the reason is not the main inspiring force for generating bodhicitta, but some teachings which bring actually cause them to feel fear. So there's a story in Kham. There was one abbot of a monastery, and some people came to see this abbot. And when they came, one of the attendants of the abbot was in the monastery. And one person came forward and said, I want to see the abbot. And the attendant said, the abbot is not here. And they asked, where is he? The attendant said, the abbot went to actually threaten, frighten the old men and women in the village. So Buddhism is not about actually frightening, causing fear in our mind at all. But you have to see the short-term as well as long-term benefit for oneself and others as well. And when you see these benefits, then you will feel inspired to cultivate and generate bodhicitta. Otherwise not. And therefore, all of us, as Shantideva says, today my life has borne fruit. I've become, I've gained a good human life and so forth. So this is true. So this is about prostrating the bodhicitta, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So led by Bodhisattva Thupten Nyema Rinpoche, the Godincha Rinpoche, and the rest. So all these great beings who have done study, reflection, meditation on the Buddha Dharma impartially, they have taken Bodhisattva vow from me, responding to my question 3 times. So I am now witness to Venerable Thupten Nyima Rinpoche and others who are gathered here for having taken Bodhisattva vows from me. So I report this to you, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions. So as soon as you take Bodhisattva vows, as soon as this ritual is completed, there are indications of so here on so in the south of India, in Karnataka state, and this Tibetan refugee settlement, and within which on this place of Drepung Monastery, temple, bustling temple. Amongst the ocean of the monastic community headed by Gadinche Rinpoche, and there are people who have come from different nations with different languages, who have come here with great interest and enthusiasm. So all the Buddhists and Bodhisattvas have now paid attention to this ceremony, and they have known that the Bodhisattva Thubden Nyima and the rest have taken this Bodhisattva vow on this land today. So here, Tibetan, who also happens to come from the same birthplace as Master Tsongkhapa, I, Tenzin Gyatso, the Bhikshu Tenzin Gyatso. So the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas now know that these beings have taken Bodhisattva vows from me. And so with the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas actually being aware of this and thinking of this, we will have great merit. Our merit will increase. So let's say this prayer. May bodhicitta grow where it has not yet grown, where it increase and never decline where it has not yet, where it has already taken root. Today my life has borne fruit. And next is not actually talking about having taken Bodhisattva vows, being conscientious about it, and so having taken the Bodhisattva vows, you should not talk to people without any consideration. And some people might also use this occasion to actually boast to others that you are Bodhisattvas. So you should not bully others. In fact, you should always hold yourself low and be humble and never deceive others, telling lie to others. So with this we have completed the Bodhisattva vow. A summary and conclusion of Lamrim. How to train specifically in Vajrayana. Now I will give a brief summation. Chapter 27, page 361. I will give a brief summation of the general meaning of the path. At the outset, the root of the path derives from your reliance upon a teacher who consider this seriously. Then once you have developed an uncontrived desire to take advantage of your leisure, this desire will spur you to practice continually. Therefore, in order to develop this, meditate on the topics connected with leisure and opportunity. Unless you then stop the various sentiments which seek the aims of this life, you will not diligently seek the aims of future lives. So work at meditating on how the body you have is impermanent, in the sense that it will not last for long, and how after death you will wander in the miserable realms. At that time, by creating a genuine awareness which is mindful of the frights of the miserable realms, build certainty from the depths of your heart about the qualities of the tree of refuge. Be constant in common vow of going for refuge and train in its precepts. Then, from a range of perspectives, develop faith in the sense of conviction in karma and its effects. This being the great foundation of all positive qualities. Make this faith firm. Strive to cultivate the 10 virtues and to turn away from the 10 non-virtues, and always stay within the path of the 4 powers. When you have thus trained well in the teachings associated with a person of small capacity and have made this practice firm, you should contemplate often the general and specific faults of cyclic existence, and in general turn your mind from cyclic existence as much as you can. Then, having identified the nature of karma and afflictions, the causes from which cyclic existence arises, will create an authentic So he's almost making comment on the Bodhisattva ceremony for aspiring bodhicitta that we did earlier in Ganden. And then taking the Bodhisattva vows, which we did now. And so create an authentic desire to eliminate them, develop broad certainty about the path that liberates you from cyclic existence, that is, the 3 trainings. Particularly make effort at whichever of the vows of individual liberation you have taken. When you have thus trained well in the teachings associated with a person of medium capacity and have made this practice firm, consider the fact that just as you yourself have fallen into the ocean of cyclic existence, so have all beings your mothers. Train in the spirit of enlightenment, which is rooted in love and compassion, and strive to develop this as much as you can without it. The practice of 6 perfections and the 2 stages, and are like stories built on a house with no foundation. When you develop the little experience of this spirit of enlightenment, confirm it with the right. You make in this training, make the aspiration as solid as you can. Then study the great waves of Bodhisattva deeds, learning the boundaries of what to discard and what to adopt, to make strong wish to train those Bodhisattva deeds. After you have developed these attitudes, then take the Bodhisattva vow of the engaged spirit of enlightenment through its right. Train in the 6 perfections that mature your own mind, and the 4 ways of gathering disciples which mature the minds of others. In particular, risk your life in making a great effort to avoid the root infractions. Strive not to be tainted by the small and intermediate contaminants and faults. And even if you are tainted, work to repair it. Then, because you must train specifically in the final 2 perfections, because become knowledgeable in the way to sustain meditative stabilization, and then achieve concentration as much as you can. Develop the view of 2 selflessnesses, a purity free from permanence and annihilation. After you have found a view and stabilize your mind upon it, understand the proper way to sustain the view in meditation, and then do so. Just stabilization, wisdom are called serenity and insight. Such stabilization and wisdom are called serenity and insight, but they are not something separate from the last 2 perfections. Therefore, after you have taken the Bodhisattva vows, they come about in the context and the training in the precepts. You have reached a critical point while meditating on the lower levels, you increasingly wish to attain the higher levels, and so forth. So, page 360, the last paragraph before the next is finished. Next is middle length lamrim. Explanation of page 310. Middle length lamrim, explanation of how to train in the uncommon vehicle, the Vajrayana. In particular, how to train in the Vajrayana. This has 5 points. 1. In particular, how to train the Vajrayana. Having thus trained in the parts that the two sutra and mantra have in common, you should doubtlessly engage in the mantra, because that path is extremely rare compared with other Dharma teachings and makes you complete the two collections quickly. When you engage in it, you should first make your teacher happy in excess of what was explained above. According to statements in Lamb for the Path of Enlightenment, it should be someone who has at least all the characteristics explained there. Then you should first have your mental continuum ripened by means of an empowerment explained in the authentic Tantra text. Then you should hear and understand the commitments and the vows taken on that occasion and guard them. If root downfall occurs, even if the vow can be taken again, the development of positive qualities of the path will be greatly delayed in your continuum, so endeavor not to be tainted by that. Try not to be tainted by a serious downfall and applied means of restoring your commitments. If you get tainted by one, because they are the root for cultivating their paths, without them it will be like a decrepit house whose side walls are collapsing. In the root tantra of Manjushri, it says, the king of sages did not teach mantra attainments for the immoral. Statements such as this are saying that there will be no great, medium, or small accomplishments whatsoever. In the highest Yoga Tantra, it also says that those who do not guard their commitments have an inferior empowerment, or do not understand suchness will not accomplish anything despite their practice. Therefore, someone who claims to cultivate the path without keeping his commitments and vows is straying from the principles of mantra. That being so, those who guard vows and commitments should gradually train in the two yogas with the two signs. Two yogas with and without signs, according to the three lower tantras classes, and the two stages of yoga, according to the highest one, in order to cultivate the paths of the mantra. Here only the side of entering the mantra is presented just nominally, so you must get to know these in detail from the stages of the path mantra. Continue reading. Now in Chamo, page 363, how to train specifically in the Vajrayana. After you have trained in this way in the paths common to Bodhisattva and mantra, you must undoubtedly enter the mantra path, because it is very much more precious than any other practice, and it quickly brings the two collections to completion. If you are to enter it, then as Adisha's Lamb for the path to enlightenment says, you must first please the Guru, even to a greater extent than explained earlier, with deeds such as respect and service, and with practice that is in accordance with the Guru's words. And you must do this for a Guru who meets at least the minimum qualifications of a teacher explained there. Then at the outset, your mind should be matured through the ripening initiation, as explained in the source Tantra. You should then listen to the pledges and vows to be taken, understand them, and maintain them. If you are stricken by roots infractions, you must make these commitments again. However, this greatly delays the development of the good qualities of the path in your mind. Make a fierce effort not to be tainted by those root infractions. Strive not to be tainted by the gross infractions, but in the event that you are tainted, use the methods for destroying those vows, since these are the basis of the practice of the path. Without them, you will become like a dilapidated house. Dilapidated houses whose foundations has collapsed. The root tantra of Manjushri says, the master of sages does not say that faulty ethical disciplines achieve the tantric path, meaning that those with faulty ethical discipline have none of the great, intermediate, or low attainments, and as it says in the highest Yoga Tantra text, that those who do not maintain their vows, those who have no inferior initiation, and those who do not understand reality, do not achieve anything despite their practice. Therefore, someone who talks about practicing the path without maintaining the pledges and vows has completely strayed from the tantric practice in order to cultivate the mantra path. Someone who keeps the pledges and vows should at the outset meditate on the stages of generation, the complete divine wheel, as explained from the source of Tantra. So the dedication verses on page 367. There was the great scholar Devamkaro who revealed them in the snowy range, so that in this region the eye that sees the conqueror's good path did not close for a long time. Then, when there were no more scholars with accurate knowledge of all the teaching's vital points, this auspicious path declined for a long time. After I saw the situation, in order to spread these teachings, I organized everything the conqueror said in all his variety of teachings into stages of the path for a single fortunate person who is riding on the supreme vehicle. Through a process of proper analysis using scripture and reasoning, I drew from those teachings a method of practice not too extensive, yet with all the crucial points intact, that even someone of little intelligence could easily understand. The gateway of the conqueror's children is very difficult to discern. I am a fool even among fools. Thus, whatever faults there are here, I confess before those who see these things as they are. And then the Lamrim prayer, by accumulating through long effort the two collections as vast as the sky, may I become the chief of conquerors. Chief of the conquerors, guide of all beings whose minds are blinded by ignorance. Also in all my lives, until I reach that point, may Manju Ghosha look after me with loving kindness. After I find the supreme path, complete in the stages of teaching, by accomplishing it I may please the conquerors by skill in means, and so forth. In colophon, this is the stage of the path of to enlightenment, a presentation that fully sets forth all the stages practiced by the persons of three capacities. It is a compendium of the vital point in all the conqueror scripture, the religious system of the supreme persons who proceeds to the state of omniscience, and the path blazed by the two great trailblazers, Nagarjuna and Sangha. I have sincerely accepted the words of the exhortation from the following excellent beings. Gunchok Sultim, the great regent of the great conqueror's child, Ngoglo then Sherab, skillfully studied the scriptural collections of Buddhist learning and took them to heart by practicing their meaning. In leading many beings, he served as an excellent friend of the precious teaching. The great abbot Sulpuba, regent of Chaduanzin, the excellent one, was enormously praised by the ascetics of former times, adorned with wisdom and compassion and many other precious qualities of knowledge and scripture. He was a great ascetic who rose above the crowd of ascetics in the snowy land of Tibet like the top of a banner. Gyabchok Pelsangpo was exhorted by many seekers from earlier times and was well trained in the boundless sutras and tantras of later times. Here, he thereby became the chief of those who uphold the textual systems, greatly cherishing the three precious trainings in the variety of ways. He was the consummate teacher and great being, a speaker of two languages, and without any rival in bearing the burden of teaching alone. From an excellent venerable person named Namkha Gyaltsen, I received the lineage descended from Gombawa or to Nisurba, and the stages of the path of lineage descended from Jengawa. From the excellent and venerable person whose name ends in Sangpo, I received. So His Holiness's text is Tashilimbu version, print, and there is a prayer written by General Saishi. From the excellent and venerable person whose name ends in Sangpo, I received the stage of path lineage descended from Bodowa to Sharawa, and the lineage descended from Bodowa to Dulba. As for the teacher's lamp for the path of enlightenment, the basic text on these instructions, whose meaning I have stated, I have not stated anything apart from merely indicating the general definitions of three types of beings, thinking that the rest of the words are easy. And so teaching is complete. Namrim Chemo. So first let me complete the middle-length Lamrim, page 310. Oh, Tenji calls. So, in particular, how to train the Vajrayana. Sorry, I read that part before. This text of the middle-length exposition of stages of the path to enlightenment. If you train in such a way, you will train complete body of the path that summarizes all the essential points of Sutra and Tantra, and you will make leisure. You have achieved meaningful through your training. You will be able to make the jewel of Victor's teachings develop in your mind and that of others. And the Victors taught the Sutra and Tantra approaches to aspects of the path. The excellent text on paths of Sutra. All Sutra scriptures and treatises easily come to be seen as direct instructions through the fearless faith that one is given. On the paths of Sutra scriptures easily come to be seen as direct instructions through the fearless faith that one is given. Common great vehicle paths explained in the Tantras are all made clear, which supremely trains the mind. Moreover, you realize well the errors of the path sought by yogis and correctly explained according to the very clear texts by many scholars on stabilization, common to Buddhist, non-Buddhist, Hinayana, both kinds of Mahayana, higher and lower Tantras, and both stages. This summary of stages of the path I rearranged for those who want liberation, the path of the view that's profound and extensive behavior, passed on from the regent Maitreya and noble Manjushri to the protected Nagarjuna Sangha and Shantideva, three rivers that were merged, the supreme instructions of Sri Atisha, through the merit gained here by my effort. May the Victor's teachings, root of all welfare, prosper uncorrupted for a long time. This was a summary of all the scriptures of the Buddhas, the tradition of the great trailblazers Nagarjuna and Sangha, the Dharma systems of the So the text that His Holiness has for the middle-length Lamrim is an old Godin print. His Holiness wants to read a bit from the beginning of Lamrim Chamo, Volume 1. Homage to Guru Manju Kosha. I bow my hat to the chief of Shakyas, whose body was formed by millions of perfect virtues, whose speech fulfills the hopes of limitless beings, whose mind sees precisely all objects of knowledge. And then there's homage to Ajita Maitreya and Manju Kosha. And then praise homage to Nagarjuna and Sangha, and then Master Atisha, and then Gurus. Nowadays, and then the next verse. So, I was inspired to explain this path of the great trailblazers. The Song of Experience, the remaining verses, thus generating the common path, which is essential for both causal and resultant vehicles. Resultant vehicles, and then with the proficient captain's guidance entering into the ocean of tantras and receiving the complete quintessential instruction is the way to make human rebirth meaningful. I yoga practice in this way. You who seek liberation should do likewise in order to make familiar in my mind and also to benefit other fortunate ones. I have herein explained in an easy manner the complete path that pleases the victors. I pray and dedicate any merit thus created to all sentient beings that they not be separated from this pure and noble path. I, yogi, prayed in this way. You who seek liberation should do likewise. This short presentation of the practice of stages of the path of enlightenment is written by Bhikshu Losangta, a hermit who has undertaken extensive studies on Dharma in order to remind himself of the practices at the victorious monastery of Gedan on Drok Mountain. So, to make this whole event of the teaching auspicious at the end, we now, His Holiness will confer the long life initiation of White Tara. So this Dharma offering, with this Dharma offering, the evil spirits who might otherwise hinder this ceremony of long life initiation are sent away. So having driven away the harmful obstacles, a virtual fence is created around this place where the initiation is taking place. With the Bowaye request for the initiation. As said in Lamrim, this long life initiation comes from Tantra. As it was said that the reason why you practice self-generation or generation practice stage of practice is to get rid of the conception of yourself as an ordinary person and have a divine conception of yourself. And therefore, to receive this initiation of long life of Tara, you have to transform yourself into a deity, and therefore I did this earlier, and also said the other recitation of mantra and so forth in my preparation for this initiation. And so, as it is said in Jedambush's insight, the great insight section, when you think about emptiness, it should not be just thinking that there's nothing at all, because then it is going to be like a total misconception, because we have this body and the mind. So nirvana of a Buddha comes about because of the basic nature of the mind, which is called natural, the emptiness of the mind that we have now, which is also called natural nirvana. And therefore, on the basis of this, you have to understand that everything in the environment as well as yourself are empty of any intrinsic existence. And then you arise from within that state of emptiness into a deity, and that deity must be visualized from within the understanding of emptiness, that mind which is absorbed in emptiness transforms into the deity. Whether you do it in different processes or not, the basic. Please repeat this request of all the embodiment of all the Buddhas. Please grant me the initiation, long life initiation of White Tara. So everybody is familiar with the White Tara tanka or paintings. So she's white with one face and two hands. And then in the altar on the stage, also imagine a White Tara. So the reason for taking this initiation is not for your own happiness, but to make this life a meaningful one, this human life that we have found, which is precious and difficult to find. So, if possible, you should put effort in being able to make yourself to set yourself on the path to enlightenment. So, in other words, you seek long life as a condition for your practice to help other sentient beings in order to become a Buddha. Otherwise, as Shaman Lamrim said, of the 4 different enlightened activities, the first 3 would otherwise tantamount to be used for covetousness, and then the last one, the wrathful action, for harmful intention. So we should not make the teaching to go like that. So, on the other hand, we have to make the Dharma a Dharma practice, and the Mahayana practice as a Mahayana practice. So, we have to take refuge in the 3 jewels in order to make the Buddha Dharma a Buddha Dharma, and Mahayana teaching, and Vajrayana teaching. And therefore, we need to practice both bodhicitta and the understanding of emptiness. And therefore, for the sake of all sentient beings, you intend to become a Buddha. And therefore, you take Bodhisattva vows. So I don't know if merely following this ritual, you will actually be taking Bodhisattva vows, but you have to imagine me, the Lama, as Aryatara, and then Aryatara in the altar, and then also in the space before above. You can imagine all the deities of the 4 Tantra classes, and in the center of whom is Aryatara. And then you should think determined that you will become a Buddha for the benefit of all sentient work to attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. So we have the opportunity to listen to such teachings as Lamrim Chemo and so forth, and there are the gurus who teach us, and therefore you should make this time to be the time and opportunity to take Bodhisattva vows. I seek refuge in the 3 jewels. Please repeat this. I confess all misdeeds individually. I rejoice in the virtuous deeds of all beings. I take to mind Buddha's enlightenment. To the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I seek refuge until I reach enlightenment. To fulfill the interests of oneself and others, I shall generate the mind of awakening. Having generated the mind of highest awakening, I shall invite all sentient beings as my guests. I shall engage in the delightful practices of Bodhisattvas. May I attain Buddhahood to benefit sentient beings. Repeat this 2nd time. I seek refuge in the 3 jewels. I confess all misdeeds individually. I rejoice in the virtuous deeds of all beings. I take to mind Buddha's enlightenment. To the Buddha, Dharma, and highest Sangha, I seek refuge until I reach enlightenment. To fulfill the interests of oneself and others, I shall generate the mind for full awakening. At the third repetition, when you say, may I attain Buddhahood to benefit all sentient beings, think that you have received a pure, complete set of Bodhisattva vows. Having generated the mind for highest awakening, I shall invite all sentient beings as my guests. I shall engage in the delighting supreme practices of enlightenment. May I attain Buddhahood to benefit all sentient beings. Now, in order to establish the basis for the long life initiations, the students transform into the Aryatara. That is, if you have received a full-fledged initiation of any of the four Tantra classes, then you can imagine yourself to be transforming to yourself transforming into Aryatara, white Tara. Otherwise, you should imagine Aryatara on your crown, sitting on your crown. So this is dispelling by sprinkling the blessed water. The obstacles are dispelled. And then with this mantra, Om Svabhava Shuddh mantra, the Om has 3 letters representing body, speech and mind. Our body and mind, which has come through karma and delusions, on the basis of which is designated this I. But you cannot find that I within the body, speech and mind or amongst them. If they were to be found, it should ultimately be found within the mind. But if you do critical analysis of the mind itself and try to search for that I, you will not find it within the mind as well. If you search for that I without leaving it, without being contented with this mere conventionality, then you will not find it. Sarva Dharma means all phenomena. And so, this I, as well as the psychophysical aggregates, on the basis of which this I is designated, cannot be found under ultimate analysis. And therefore, you meditate on emptiness, and within that meditation, all the multiplicity of things also dissolve. For the particular purpose here of meditating on emptiness, mind absorbed. And from within the state of emptiness arises a thumb syllable, white in color. And this thumb transforms into white Tara with her right hand in the posture of giving supreme siddhi, and left hand in giving refuge. And your 3 places of crown, throat and heart are adorned with, marked with the Om, Ah, Hum syllables. And then at the heart, you imagine thumb syllable in the circle above the Hum. A circle of the home. So with your fervent devotion to the Guru and deity, Aryatara, rays of light Amit, the home from the home syllable at the heart of the Guru deity, home emits light, and which invokes the Tara in the altar. And then you receive the blessings of Aryatara to dispel the obstacles to your life. And sometimes it happens that your lifespan is kind of snatched away by certain spirits. And so, with the blessing of our Venerable Aryatara, which come in the form of the blessings, come in the form of the vase of immortality, filled with immortality nectar. And so these nectars come from and flow down, and then enter into your body through the crown, and all the obstacles and negativities of your are dispelled. And then recovering your energies that have declined or become weakened. We have the 5 elements within ourselves, and there are 5 elements in the external world as well, which are connected or related. And within these 5, these 5 elements also have degrees of subtlety. So ultimately, the gross or the coarse elements trace back to the subtle ones. So our body, which is made of 4 or 5 elements. The 5th one is the space element. So with your fervent prayer and devotion to the Guru deity, from the heart of the Guru and the deity in the altar, and you should imagine that the space elements these elements come in the form of different colors: green, blue, red, white, and yellow. So green representing the space element, blue representing wind element, red representing the fire element, and white representing water element, and then yellow representing earth element. So they come down in these forms. So with your fervent prayer to the Guru and the deity, all the great beings, powerful ones of the universe, who live above the space, above the ground, on the ground, and below the ground, and they. So they come down to you, and especially the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas have generated Bodhicitta for our sake, and therefore they have the truth, the power of truth, in their enlightened activities. And so if we have our faith, if we don't lack in our faith and devotion, their blessings are always there. So the body, speech, and mind blessings of the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas come down, and also the powerful beings of the universe come in the form of immortal nectar, which in turn, these potent come in the form of auspicious substances. And so please imagine that you are receiving this blessing in the form of the auspicious objects, which essentially are the blessings of body, speech, and mind of Bodhisattvas, as well as the powerful deities and so forth in the universe. And now, recovering the vows and commitments, and also and receiving the body, speech, and mind permission initiations. So the blessings of the Buddhas, Lama, deities, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Dakas, Dakinis, protectors, come in the form of white and red nectars and light. to recover any decline in your vows and commitments. As I do the gesture of putting the Dharma on your crown, that the Vajra disciples, imagine from Amitabha down to your root guru, just as you have invoked, just as I invoked them. Imagine Amitabha and so forth, dissolving one to the next one, and finally into the white Thara, and thereby your obstacles to your lifespan are averted, pacified, and your purpose of achieving Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings is being actually facilitated through this blessing. And finally, the white Tara dissolves, which is touched on your head, dissolves into you. So just imagine these, as the names are said, imagine that they dissolve into the next one. The first Dalai Lama, Benjamin Sonam Drapa, Yamashirab Jaz, Benjamin Shigin, the fifth Dalai Lama, Losan Ishi, the seventh Dalai Lama, Jugulosan Chilejatsu, Bema Yuntan, Kiljan Drapa Ketu, Shinyan Drapa Ludu, Chamba Ishi Belsambu. Tara Rinpoche, Ling Rinpoche, so may all your untimely death is overcome, and all the great qualities of lifespan, longevity and so forth increase. So imagine white Tara, which is touched on your crown, dissolves and becomes one with you. Zahum Pamho. So, with this, the long life initiation based on the long life Dharma is done. And next is conferring the long life initiation based on the longevity pill and nectar. The final auspicious expression. So may through the power of the six perfections your life be you have long life. So with this we have completed the long life initiation of White Tara. So on the one hand, merely by reciting the mantra of the deity and receiving blessings will not give you long life, but as long as our we are dependent on the gross energy wind energy, then we have to rely on external conditions. But once we have gained control over our inner energy, we don't have to rely on external facilities as such. Therefore, it is very important for us, ordinary beings, to take care of our health. And therefore, Buddha himself has also given teachings on taking medicine and treatment for when we are sick. And so it is very important to take medicines when we are sick. So some doctors have told me that here people are taking too greasy food, and because of that they are suffering from bile problem. And it's mainly you have to take care of your lifestyle, diet and lifestyle. So of course the biggest monks have to participate in debate sessions every day. It's difficult for them to give up taking meal after lunch. But of course, not taking meal after lunch is really good for one's health. But while taking meal, of course, you should not take meal, too much meal, so that you become too fat like a pig. So right from the beginning, it is very important to be aware of your health and your diet and lifestyle. And so people who are expert on nutrition and health should be consulted and give advice to the public. So there are posters everywhere saying don't pollute the environment, keep the environment clean. And so if the trees and plants are very good for health, so we have to consider this. In Vinaya text, the monks are recommended to plant trees, and also when they move to different places, how the new monks who come to that place actually they should take care of these plants. The most important thing is to live a meaningful life, and then if you live a long life, you'll be closer and closer to omniscience. Otherwise, living an unmeaningful life would be like living a life of full of practicing, full of non-virtuous. Just as you have said, I oblige to what you say. Yeah. Please make a mandala offering of thanksgiving. As we have announced earlier, all the foreigners, Asians and Westerners, people from Africa, South America, and so forth, have audience with His Holiness this afternoon. So please, if possible, stay here at the venue of the teaching, so that you can enter as people leave the hall, you can enter this prayer hall. So all Westerners and other foreigners are requested to stay at the venue. So let's say Lamrim prayer and also the prayer of the words of truth. It is at the end of the third volume.
Translate probably.